Germanium!
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday the 18th of May 2013. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp.
Yeah!
And Zachary Burgess.
He pointed at himself. That was even more ridiculous pointing than usual.
I host. You can see I'm doing pointing motions. You can't see because you're listening.
No.
You might be able to see.
You can feel the
You
pointing.
can feel it in your mind. Now I'm pointing at you, listeners.
Sort of.
Sort of. Pointing at a
Coming at you.
Pointed in a random direction.
Now I'm pointing at lights.
Do I need to try and give the sense of oppression in the audio mix somehow, like that a point has? Is a point? Yeah, a point is kind of
Point is
oppressive,
hella
isn't it?
repressive.
Yeah, it's just like
It's rude to point.
Or intimidating.
They say it's rude to point.
Intimidating.
why.
I don't even know about that. It depends. There's a lot more context than just the finger being aimed at you to determining the emotional response you should have to being pointed at.
Pointed.
No, it's somewhat like if you just had a picture of being pointed at, somewhat intimidating without context.
What you mean, Kitchener style?
Yeah.
I want you to
What?
sit
What?
back
Yeah,
in
but
the
that still
chair.
had
and
his
go,
face and shit.
It's like even the lottery
course it
finger is kind of intimidating, isn't it?
Well, that's maybe intimidating for different reasons. It's like giant effing finger.
You. Yeah, that would be scary if that really happened. A giant cloud finger comes along and goes in a deep, bassy voice.
This should be like, get out of the way, it's going to crush me. Red smear on the floor.
Man. Do they still use that in adverts? Probably not for the
No.
last 20 years.
It's like, when was the lottery adverts even like that? They just do adverts for the Euro Millions. Don't they? That's the only thing they advertise for the lottery.
They're not
Yeah.
Or
bothered-
scratch cards.
Scratch cards mostly get TV ads now.
They don't bother advertising for the main
The actual
draw.
lottery. No, because the shows get adverts on BBC, if you know what I mean. Like
Trailers, yeah.
like
Why
whatever
is
it's
that
called.
even
In
on
it to win it.
BBC?
I don't know.
Because it was from the start, and they've just kept it.
I guess.
And no one else cares.
Maybe the BBC, but the BBC probably gets a bit of funding from the lottery to do it. You know, they.
Oh, yeah.
I doubt the. Well, the BBC might pay for the show element to it, I guess, but the actual draw studio is probably all lottery funded. But
You think so?
I hope so.
Who knows?
Or maybe it's like part of the contract where they get some lottery grant or something, or part of the lottery funding schemes just goes into the Beeb if they're hosting it, maybe. Maybe. Don't know.
Indeed.
Someone's got to pay for Nick Knowles.
So pointing then. Do you point with your thumb out like a gun?
Oh, are you a gun pointer?
Or you just normal point?
I'm a normal point. I'm an Alan Sugar point.
I don't know. I don't point at things regularly enough to notice.
Do you not do
You
that?
can't do it now, because then you're thinking about
Yeah,
it.
true.
You're corrupting the data.
I suppose you don't. Yeah, I don't. You don't often give someone the guns.
We don't give someone the guns as in with the gun motions.
Hey.
Well, you've got a little recoil on your hand. It's very
Yeah,
important.
you've got to have the kickback.
Why? I mean, couldn't they design a gun where the pivot was in a different place, so it didn't
didn't
recoil in the
kick back.
same way?
Yeah, but that's actually probably the best recoil you can get, because if it was directly along your arm, you just break your arm every time you shot
Yeah,
a gun.
that's true.
Well, that's only in pistols, isn't it? Because rifles will just be
Shoulder.
well, yeah, but a horizontal motion as opposed to a pivoted action.
They still go up though a bit though, don't they?
Yeah, a
Rifles?
bit of muzzle climb, I suppose. It's because all the force will be that you'll experience is coming from the muzzle.
And because, you're holding it along
Yeah.
the centre of mass
Or,
of the gun.
I don't know why that is, because presumably the explosion's happening quite near to you, but the actual
Yeah, but
kick comes from the muzzle.
because that's where the gas comes out.
Yeah,
That's where
probably.
the actual force happens.
But you'd think maybe they could design the muzzle brake so that it directed the gas in such a way that it evened out the forces a bit more. I'm sure they thought of these things.
Yeah, probably.
But still,
But they do for
Or is that what the
big,
like?
the Uber sniper rifles and shit. Don't
Is that
they?
what some
Yeah.
Like the
perforation?
Barrett or whatever.
Yeah, the
I'm not meant to
perforation.
say that. Copyright.
not allowed to.
They're apparently they're super protective.
Yeah, they
that
are.
specific one
Yeah,
that I already said. I'm not going to say it again.
Yeah.
Oh, you did it.
you're allowed to say M82. That's not their term. It's the US military term.
Did we already do this news last week? I can't remember.
Don't think
No.
so.
EA are no longer paying for the rights to guns, but they're going to keep using them until someone stops them.
Right, that's right.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
That's EA, right?
Yeah.
So not Call of Duty.
Well,
guys.
Battlefield, so.
Yeah, Battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Interesting.
that's all licensed, isn't it? Or Battlefield may have been maybe the last time they licensed them at this rate.
Well, they already had trouble in Battlefield on a helicopter shape, didn't they? Like like Bell or whatever sued them for using a Black Hawk shape. It's like, well,
What, back in Battlefield 2, you mean? Or
I don't know if it was 2.
because that's the first one that started having that
yeah. Well,
Black Hawkish design.
it is. It totally is a Black Hawk.
Yeah,
for example,
it's what it's
I don't know if
supposed to be, I guess.
exactly. I don't know if it was the Black Hawk or the Cobra or whatever's in Battlefield. What helicopters are in Battlefield that are
What,
American?
2 or 3 or
Yeah.
or the other ones. There's all kinds of.
There is a Black Hawk-esque
There is
one.
there's a Black Hawk. There's the small scout helicopter with the bulbous cannon,
Oh, the
which I
little-
guess is a
little
lot like
bird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then in 2 there was Cobra, wasn't there? That was the combat helicopter for the Americans.
yeah. The assault helicopter.
The new one's more Apache-like, isn't it? The one in 3.
It is an Apache.
Probably.
I can't be sure. It's. I don't think it's got quite such the ridiculous. The rotors are very. I think are the most like the way the rotor stem works on an Apache is pretty. That's how where my familiarity of it lies, and it's sort of similar, but I'm not sure it's quite the same. So
Okay.
it might not be an Apache, but
You have to check.
I don't know. I don't pay that much attention. It's like all I see is the smoke and the missiles coming at me.
Yeah, we don't pay attention to helicopters because we can't do anything with them or about them.
I'm rubbish at flying them. I'm rubbish at avoiding the damage coming from them. So it's like,
I'm okay at anti-air. That's about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if the helicopter pilot's any good, then I'm still screwed.
I've always wanted to be able to fly the choppers well in that game. I just can't for some reason.
It's because there's no chance to practice. That's the problem.
Yeah, true.
If you're bad, you just get shot.
It seems easier.
And then you're done.
Picking up the jets seems easier. Or, as I say, picking up the jets for completely pointless reasons and just shooting other jets.
Yeah.
They're not really helping the battle.
At least it lets you unlock stuff eventually.
Yeah, it's a shame, really, because back in 1942, you could be really effective at bombing tanks in the Mustang.
Well, some people are. That happens. People will go air to ground with the jets. It's really, really difficult.
It's because it's a straight choice. It's like if you go air to ground, you don't have air to air.
Oh, so you can't defend yourself?
Yeah.
Well, you have the gun.
Yeah, but no one uses the gun ever for anything.
Oh, I do.
No, it's because you didn't have any other unlocks at that.
No, but even with the heat seekers, the gun is still pretty effective.
Well, for following up, yeah. I mean, if you're already basically tracking someone, you might as well get the extra damage of shooting bullets at them as well as
Yeah.
missiles.
I mean, it doesn't take a lot to put someone in a fire state.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I used to, before I had any unlocks with the gun, I used to shoot ground forces with the gun. That's dumb. I got a couple of infantry kills.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so random though, 'cause you're travelling way too fast and the guys are too small to see most of the time. And it's, you do bugger all against vehicles.
Yeah. Even though it should do tons of
Yeah,
damage.
Yeah, it should.
Even with the Death Dart minigun.
It's a shame there's no A10. That
There
was
is
fun.
an A10.
Is there?
On
In the
Rush
single player.
maps. On Rush maps.
Well, that gun must be insanely
Oh,
powerful.
yes, no, there is.
Yeah, it is. If the A10 pilot is good, that can fuck up all the vehicles on the map. But the trouble is, it's like both teams have one,
Right.
or the Russian A10 equivalent. So most of the time, they just start having an air-to-air battle, and it's completely irrelevant on the ground because they're not doing anything.
Right.
The choppers on that level as well, aren't they? And it's easier to take out an A10 with choppers.
I can't remember.
Because the
Depends.
A10 travels slower.
Well, yeah,
So it's like the chopper just locks you.
but if it has air-to-air, yeah.
Yeah. Which I think they plan for on that level. Anyway, Battlefield 3, we haven't played that in ages.
Yeah, so why the hell are we talking
We probably should go and play it. I've only played it once since I got my new graphics card. And
to
it's
test it?
yeah, to try it out. And it's like, we should really play that more. Now I can play it, like,
You can have a frame rate.
yeah, like, in
And
like,
detail.
far higher quality. And it's still, like, there are still some levels where the HDR lighting is so extreme where you can't see people in buildings, but that may be
But that's sort of
intentional.
intentional.
Yeah,
It's like real life.
it's kind of annoying. But damn, that game's still a looker.
Still
So-
frustrating.
How are you what are we doing, Dan? Because you said you were changing the format.
I was gonna start with what you've been playing, but you jumped straight to news,
Yeah, I scuppered that plan casually.
thereby trampling my plan.
News! Well, I suppose if we're like just going slightly more random in how we lay this out, then I can say news more often. So that's
Bonus.
news!
We could punctuate with news.
I think I'm
Yeah,
not.
well, what, sort of like interspersed with relevant news in our gaming, like, discussions.
I'm not sure if there's. I'm not sure most of my game discussions has direct links to relevant news most of the time.
Well, we should say on EA maybe for now, because there's the big news, I suppose. News of this week was EA owning all the rights. Well, not owning, but having all the rights to Star Wars.
Right?
All of them.
Yeah, they're going to make all the Star Wars games from now on.
Not all of them. They can't make the films.
Well, all games.
Okay.
So
That's why I said games.
Yeah, every game is now that can be produced will go through EA.
Even the who makes the Telltale? It's Telltale? What am I talking about? Traveller's Tales. The
Lego ones.
Yeah, is that EA?
I don't know who publishes that actually.
Anyway,
I can find out. I have a Lego Harry Potter behind us.
It's very convenient having to stand up and go look at the box.
It's Warner Brothers.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, there you go.
So,
well, that's
in fairness, Lego. We haven't seen a Lego Star Wars game for a while.
That's true.
And it's like Warner Brothers and Lucas probably joint published that maybe, but
yeah, maybe they're done with the Lego on the.
Yeah, well, what else would they do? Lego Star Wars, unless they wanted to do the new.
Well, did they do all of the films?
Yeah,
they did everything.
What, like in all
old and new trilogy?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they did them as like 3 films in one game, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They sort of did a couple of Lego Star Wars games on their own, and then said, "Screw it, we'll do a trilogy version."
They even did some like ones based on the stupid Clone Wars cartoon, I think.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a bunch of crap. I think they're probably done with Star Wars.
Yeah.
They're making their crazy.
Well, they've run out of film tie-in ideas that kind of work, so we're trying to.
Well, everyone's just waiting for the new films, and then we can start making games again.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, EA and Star Wars games.
So obviously, all you care about is DICE doing Star Wars Battlefield and Criterion doing Pod Racer.
There's all sorts of things. The tie-ins are getting a bit nuts now on the film front, because the next Scribblenauts game is Scribblenauts in the DC universe.
I wasn't clear whether that was a game or not, or whether that was just going to be DLC.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. It could be either, but either way, it's happening.
Yeah,
it's old.
Didn't they get in trouble for using Yankow or something?
Yeah, they did. Well, it was a couple of the cat things or some of the memes.
Oh, Keyboard Cat.
Yeah, Keyboard Cat. Yes, a couple of the memes in the game. They're like, you didn't ask to use this. And it's like, I don't think anyone on the internet asked to have it. It's like we were subjected to this.
That's true. Criterion doing Pod Racer.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen, but it'd be awesome.
That would be totally awesome.
Or like they could get. No, I don't know. It's a shame. They should just buy everyone from Studio Liverpool that are now redundant from making Wipeout and just get them to make Pod Racer.
That'd be also awesome.
Yeah.
We could do game ideas.
Well, the trouble with Pod Racer is...
we could do game ideas. Yeah, that's great.
We have done game ideas. That was what we did in the 90s.
This is the pitch.
That's true.
Like, we're the ultimate game pitchers here. It's like the rest of the team could just follow up. We just say, hey, get the Wipeout guys to make Pod Racer.
I don't think either get the Wipeout guys or the Criterion guys to make Pod Racer is actually a very difficult idea to come up with.
No.
No, but they haven't, and we did it.
You don't know they haven't.
No.
Maybe they haven't abroad.
Yeah, maybe they've been secretly developing it all this time.
No.
I'm sure they'll be working.
It would be several months before they settle on an idea for what to do with this, I'm sure, before they even start.
The trouble with...
There'll be games like the Star Trek game. That's what will happen.
Yeah.
Crappy
obviously,
movie tie-ins.
The movie tie-ins are different, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they're guaranteed, and they don't need a specific studio of EA's many studios. It's just like whoever.
I suppose.
Well, would they go down that route? Is the thing? The straight.
Well,
I mean,
inevitably.
But would they time Star Wars game releases with a film as opposed to ones that are perhaps directly tied, instead of ones that are tied to the movies directly? If you know what I mean.
I don't think they time it.
Well, it's like when the last Prince of Persia game came out, and they timed it and the movie to come out at the same time, despite the fact the two being pretty unrelated. And it's
I mean, I guess it is like save on marketing budget or something, but. I don't expect they care that much about movie tie-in games. Or maybe Disney does nowadays, I don't know.
Man, Disney owns
Disney
so
and
much stuff.
Sega still do those Iron Man games, which they haven't done for Iron Man 3, thankfully, because the last two were guff.
You mean all of them?
Well, yeah. Well, the first two Iron Man games that Sega made were pretty awful, despite having some cool ideas, just bad execution. And, at least Sega kind of learned, I guess. Let's not do that. Or maybe Disney didn't let them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just think about how huge Disney is. They've got Disney. They've got all their stuff.
Yeah.
And then they own Pixar,
Yeah.
they own Marvel, all the superhero shit, and they own Star Wars.
They have like the biggest stuff, don't they?
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much all of it, except for Lord of the Rings, but it's pretty big, and they don't have Star Trek.
No, but they've got the director from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lens flare.
How was that anyway?
It's pretty good.
I'm going tomorrow.
It's pretty good. Story is incredibly predictable.
Right, got it.
So I think that's the weakest part of the film. It's not as in. No,
sorry.
It's not as it is Khan. It's not
Clearly it's Khan,
but it's not as interesting as the first film in terms of what they change. Like in this film, like they kind of by the numbers plot, but what they do twist with Khan, like for people that know anything about, I don't know, the memes or the
actual film,
or the actual
or
film,
if you've seen Rapid Khan, the classic
anything
film.
like that. They tweak some details just enough to make it. Oh, I see what you did there.
Okay, cool.
It's which is kind of nice. Some of it's kind of dumb, but
because the thing
holy
about
crap, lens flare and effects and IMAX 3D, like that's seriously good quality 3D going on here.
Really cool.
Yeah, like the annoyingly the best scene in the film I think is the one at the opening, which they've been trailing and you can pretty much just see whenever you want.
On YouTube.
But the 3D for it is incredible. There's like some really good stuff going on there. They do some really nice stuff with particle effects, so the particles are always kind of around your face, kind of stuff. But the action is still into the screen, so you never have these big objects really that are poking at you.
What about the lens flare? Is that in your?
There's a lot of lens flare. There's a lot,
lens flare. That doesn't even make sense in 3D, does it?
Lens flare barely makes sense anyway in any context. It looks like, obviously, we're always looking for a camera, even when it's first-person perspective, because that's how lens flare works.
And I still think the bridge looks too much like a trendy wine bar. But they don't really disguise the fact that around the circumference of the ceiling, I suppose, is like halogen spotlights.
I saw
in the future, everyone uses the lights that I power my kitchen with.
I saw a blog post pointing out all the readily available on the market today barcode scanners that were all over the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. Like,
barcode scanners.
I thought they were like weird joysticks at first, but it's like, no, I could buy chips with that.
They're literally barcode scanners. Awesome.
It's an enjoyable film. Cool. I liked it anyway.
So Star Wars.
That was the film news.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. It's EA are not doing well at the moment.
Well, what would we want to see? Like,
we just said it, didn't we?
Well, no, apart from Pod Racer, what else? Well, Battlefront, I think, is a given. We'll probably see that.
Well, the only one we know about that ought to bloody happen is the Obsidian pitched RPG set between episode 3 and 4.
Definitely.
I want to see that. I don't know if they haven't got nothing to do with EA, though, have they? I don't know. I guess they're kind of floating.
Tied up with
what happens between episode 3 and 4, really?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
No, I mean, what do we know at the moment that happens between 3 and 4?
Quite a lot.
I mean, it's the whole Empire thing, but it's like, isn't that just a really boring...
Well, the Rebel Alliance has to form and everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's just the rebels. That's not...
I don't know. It's an origin story.
There's a battle. Isn't there a battle where they get the plans for the Death Star from the many Bothans died for this information?
Yeah,
all that shit.
Okay. There's a fight at some point.
Yeah, and there's those fighters that we never see, the headhunters.
Did a lot of shit go on in the war in between 3 and 4, or is that later?
Quite possibly.
Was Suncrusher after after 6, or was that in the middle?
No, because you're only allowed to make canon
I know,
extending universe after the end of episode 6, with the only exception being Shadows of the Empire, that like cross-media tie-in thing where they did a game. Do you remember that on the N64? And there was a book, and that was set between 2 and 3. Not 2, 5 and 6.
Yeah, of course, Suncrushers afterwards, because that's like the new Death Star, basically.
Yeah. And there were those World Eater things as well. Those giant things that like ate the planet while manufacturing TIE fighters out of it, which is just really slow and retarded. Yeah. I don't know. The Suncrusher was basically the same as that ship in the first Star Trek that Spock flies.
It is exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
What, with red matter?
Yeah.
Apart from it's some kind of torpedo, I think.
Yeah, it's some kind of nuclear torpedo thing that blows up suns. Which is exactly what happened with the red matter.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that was like, oh, okay, that's the same. I'd forgotten about that, but it's true, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what happens, but you're not allowed to write books about it. That's why we don't know what really happened and why they kept modifying the story and in the prequels and just said, "Oh, let's just have the Death Star plans on this random Geonosian planet. Let's link that up."
Well, I guess
for
that
no reason.
sort of makes sense in some aspect. They have to have had plans like in the works for quite a long time to decide something that gigantic. I suppose.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Although it was an entirely pointless aspect of the film. Where you already know where these plans end up, so it's not any kind of tension when they're chasing him. It's like, oh no, we've got to get the plans!
Yeah, that's true.
I suppose if we were talking like tie-in games, like how they did... You remember Phantom Menace? Like the game that came out for that. It was kind of... I suppose like an early version of Force Unleashed, in a way.
Yeah.
The sort of like where you're just running around as a Jedi and attacking those droids with the shields. Whatever they were called.
Droidica.
Yeah.
Or Destroyer droids, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll take the 1313 tech that presumably they now have.
Well, do they? I guess they bought it.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Well, Disney probably would have links to that regardless. They'd probably have some clause to say, whatever happens, we've got this.
I guess.
So you might have access to that. And,
is that just
kind
Unreal, though? Is it?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, but presumably, like, judging by the early footage, there's a lot of engine already there, a lot of mechanical stuff already there.
I guess.
Perhaps they could lift relatively wholesale from the game to make, even if it's not set in whatever the 1313 setting was going to be.
Well, it's going to be Coruscant, isn't it?
They don't need engines. They have all of EA's engines.
But you know what? No, I don't mean graphical engine. I mean, like, the mechanics. It's even if it's running on Unreal.
Well, we don't even know what mechanics there were at that point. Really, it was just
I don't know.
It was a QuickTime event sequence, basically. What they showed.
We don't know, but what I'm saying is that like that seems fairly likely that if they have that, then we'll see a game to that effect. Probably won't be 1313, but we'll probably see some stuff.
Yeah,
in a similar vein.
Who knows? Star Wars is a good universe for games, but there haven't been any good ones for a very long time.
No.
I mean, the classic. The thing is, what can I? It seems obvious that even those like space fighter sequences in Halo Reach, kind of, there's definitely a console-based kind of X-wing game possible.
Yeah. I want to see. Well, I just want to see a console.
That would be between 3 and 4 then.
Well,
get one of the Z95s out,
but they won't make it because it just isn't a bankable
no, it's
thing.
Not.
It's too much.
It would take so little effort, though. This is just like a space fighting game. The assets are tiny because all you have to have is like a sky map and some ships.
That's true.
That's the problem, though.
But you don't have to make worlds and stuff like that. But the trick with a space fighting game is to make it, the way things handle. To make it a good one as opposed to a bad one is actually quite an art, isn't it?
Definitely.
Compare what was it?
For every Free Space 2, there's a sort of.
Well, yeah, because I can't think of many, but there was that project. Was it Sylpheed or Slipheed? I don't know how you say it. It's probably the last one I can remember that was console space game. And, for all its presentation-y stuff, it was, which was all right. It didn't play very well. And it's like, they went to the effort of making actually quite a nice-looking space game. Lots of lasers. Loads of lasers.
That's all you need.
But in actual fact, it kind of played kind of like crap, really. So it's definitely an art. Yeah. And, people don't really rate games like Starlancer, which was like, the more story-based version of Freelancer in a way. It's like,
well, the more X-Wing or Wing Commander style in that vein. Actually, Freelancer would be great in the Star Wars universe if you were like a bounty hunter dude, if you were a Han Solo type.
I mean, I liked Wing Commander, like the early Wing Commanders and Wing Commander 4 especially, but Wing Commander Prophecy, sorry, was my one. But but even I will concede that the handling of that wasn't as nice as the Star Wars games. Yeah.
Totally games ones.
Yeah, or
TIE Fighter.
Oh, no, what's it called?
I'm thinking Free Space.
Free Space, yeah. Which,
Space is Pink, the classic. That's the like pinnacle of the genre, really, isn't it?
Yeah, Free Space 2 is still the best.
The X-Wing Alliance was alright. It was just a bit weird story-wise.
Well, unless we see another game like Rogue Squadron.
Well, it has to be another game like Rogue Squadron at this point because no one has joysticks any longer. So actual PC versions don't work any longer.
I don't know. I think you could play X-Wing with a normal controller. It'd probably be okay.
And as we mentioned before, the Rogue Squadron games were pretty excellent.
That's why that hasn't been done again because it was like they had to come up with a control scheme that works on controllers, and no one's bothered since then, basically.
I guess the Halo Reach space combat was quite a lot like Rogue Squadron 2. Really.
Yeah, I guess, in a simple kind of way.
Yeah,
that was okay. It didn't feel too bad.
I'm not saying it was great, but I'm just saying
it was
there's
incredibly simple. But...
There's potential for a full space.
it can be
game.
done, but as I say, there's something about the feel you need to get right, and space in combat inherently, well, historically, has been the best ones have been the more complex ones.
Yeah, that's true.
And putting that complexity on a console is tough.
Yeah, it's hard to do. And
you've got to somehow make your missions interesting, which is also tough in those games.
It is tough to do. Yeah, maybe it won't. I don't know.
Although Free Space pulls that off pretty good.
The thing is, Star Wars has never been despite being a great world for games, it hasn't been that good for first-person shooters, which is the bankable kind of game.
But people talk about, was it one of the Jedi Knight games?
Yeah.
Quite, one of the older ones.
Jedi Knight itself.
Quite
Dark Forces 2.
Yeah, that's the one.
Jedi Knight.
I never played it, but they talk about that fairly fondly.
Yeah. But I don't know. I have to see. I mean, at Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast or whatever, had a kind of a weird multiplayer following for its crazy lightsaber combat. Which was, if you could do something...
The multiplayer was funny.
Yeah.
I actually, that might have been the one experience I've had with that game, actually, was on a LAN of just lightsaber fights.
Yeah.
It was like, I played it for like 2 minutes, because a LAN center happened to have it, and it was pretty funny.
Because it had all the different stances and it was quite involved, the lightsaber combat in that. So who knows? I mean, you could do a Devil May Cry style game, but with a lightsaber.
That would be so good.
But then they'd be doing the classic mistake that everyone always does with making lightsabers shitty. Lightsabers are meant to be the most powerful free thing in the entire universe.
What you mean? So they wouldn't be insta kill if you made a game like that? You mean?
It's the whole point of Devil May Cry is juggling and combos. You can't do that with a lightsaber because you just kill everything.
Yeah,
that's true. Everything would just.
But they have some form, don't they? Because they attempted that style of game with Dante's Inferno. Not that I can actually remember anything about that game. I mean, I don't even have an image in my mind of what it looked like in action. It's like that game just came and went. Died a horrible death and then went through the several layers of hell of its namesake.
And then the other trouble with lightsabers is that if you have lightsabers, then you inevitably end up with vibro swords. And fuck vibro swords!
Well, vibro swords only exist because they needed something.
Because they needed something that can beat a lightsaber, yeah. It's retarded.
They don't beat lightsabers.
Well, they equal lightsabers.
They're only in those Bioware games, aren't they? I mean, are they in the universe? Are they in much of the universe?
I'm pretty sure they're in one of the films.
Seriously?
Yeah, doesn't General Grievous have those the robots?
True. Those stupid robots.
I thought Grievous had lightsabers.
No, he does, but his robot allies, the ones with the cloaks.
Swords, yeah.
Oh.
Which is dumb. Yeah. Because you get an extended sequence with those in the awesome Clone Wars cartoon.
Yeah.
Not the CG one, which I've never seen. It's apparently dreadful. Yeah, the Samurai Jack one. The second season of that had longer episodes of because the first season they were 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
And the second season there was a 15-minute episode about how Grievous got
how he got fucked up and how he got
how he got fucked up was in the first series, I think.
Yeah.
No. That's how he got all his shit. Yeah, but no, it was how he got. Yeah, but it was how he got the Emperor guy, who wasn't the Emperor at the time. What's his face? Senate. What was he? Yeah, leader of the Senate or whatever he was. How he managed to kidnap him, which was all part of his plan, obviously. But obviously there were Jedi assigned to protect him, and so it led up to the start of episode 3 where he's already captured and on the spaceship. But that was cool because it had the crazy vibro sword dudes.
Not cool. Vibro swords are fucking retarded.
Yeah, that's true.
Explain vibro swords.
It's basically they came up because they have lightsabers in the Star Wars universe, but only Jedi are meant to be able to use lightsabers and make them because they have to do all this crystal alignment and shit using the Force or whatever. So you have lightsabers which are the ultimate weapon, but then you need enemies who can fight lightsabers, but they're not allowed to have lightsabers. So they came up with this stupid thing called a vibro sword, where the blade vibrates, which somehow manages to make it combat lightsabers, so it can clash with them and shit.
Oh. The other reason for it was so that you could develop your your melee skills in an RPG before you got to be a Jedi and have a lightsaber. So it's like you start off with a vibro sword and then you eventually build a lightsaber. Because otherwise you'd be using blasters the whole time. And you got a sword and you've got no melee skills. It's like, oh, okay. In fact, and that would be quite weird playing just with blasters for ages. Although it works fine in Jedi Knight, but not in an RPG like KOTOR.
My mind is just, when you said blasters, my mind is just like remembered a couple of the. Do you remember a couple of the GameCube era Star Wars games that they made? Because they tried that fairly ill-fated Boba Fett game.
Oh yeah.
At one point, but at pretty much the same time, they did that tank combat game. I can't remember what it was called. Like based on the Clone Wars stuff,
right?
God, that I seem to remember either you or your brother had. And it was
tank combat.
Yeah, you drove around in one of the hover tank things, and you were doing the fights from the vehicular side. And I thought that was kind of cool.
I don't remember that at all. Was that was some of the missions in?
No. It was a whole game. There was a whole game.
I don't remember at all.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but.
I'm thinking of the Star Fox game that had the tanks in now at this point. What was that?
No.
Do you remember that?
Armada.
Yeah, that's the one. No, don't remember the Star Wars tank game. Yeah, anyway, so Star Wars has gone to EA and they'll probably make some bad games. And
they may make some good games, you never know.
Yes.
Maybe this is a chance for EA to get its new IP on thinking that Star Wars... Well, I say new IP, but, they're getting their actual new games on because they think Star Wars is a fairly bankable name anyway, that maybe they can experiment with it.
I was just trying to think up a dumb game to sum up this segment so we could move on.
Yeah.
And I came up with Sim Coruscant.
Oh, man.
There you go.
That would be a kind of cool add-on, actually.
It would just be
the buildings and
arcologies on every square.
Yeah, basically.
Or you'd add a vertical level to the design somehow.
It'd be like Outpost.
Yeah, maybe. But bridges or air routes.
Yeah.
Not really.
You'd have to have roads where there'd be
hovering lights.
Yeah, cylinders where the cars go through the sky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think their cities are a bit small to model Coruscant.
They are a bit.
Given the size of a planet.
Has anything happened on SimCity patch news?
Yes, and it's dumb.
3.0,
yep.
4.0.
They were just 2.0. Wait, this patch is terrible. 2.1. Oh, that didn't fix anything. 3.0.
3.0. Fuck it.
So, what is the state? What's it like? What's happened?
Well, 3.0 fixed most of the stuff that 2.0 managed to break even worse.
Right. So
but
they reverted, basically.
Yeah, and they fixed some stuff better, but not as far as 2.0 was probably actually meant to fix it. So it's more like 1.9, only now it's free.
So what I said, it's essentially sort of, as you said, should be using their naming scheme. Perhaps it's a 2.2.
No, well, maybe. But,
so they're calling it 3.0.
Yeah, but it's basically it reverts 2.0 and does some of what 2.0 was meant to do. So some stuff has actually been fixed.
Have they fixed the bloody education thing?
No, I went and tested that. In fact, they've actually managed to make it worse somehow.
Awesome.
Because before it was the high school buses would come to your city and take the students out, and then when they came back, it was you didn't get enough students from the high school buses, so it gradually depopulated your city over time by taking away your students. Well, now what happens is the high school buses never even come back. It just takes all of your students.
Awesome.
It's how does that even happen? You mentioned it's there must be a specific time where it triggers the event to create the high school buses on the return journey, and now that just doesn't happen any longer. It's too bad.
That's wonderful.
Don't they have some regression tests? Jesus. Anyway.
And I went and I was reading some threads about it, and then I realised that the actual, someone had realised, and then I realised it was this game works perfectly fine, provided you're only playing one city. And it's and then for all the promises they made about the region shit and how it was meant to let you do more than one city, none of that actually works. And it still hasn't. And every time they patch it, it's not got any better. They fix things inside the city, like the garbage truck problem or whatever. It's maybe you should think about patching the region stuff at some point so we can actually play this fucking game. Because you can only play one city at the moment. And as soon as you put another city in the region, everything just fucks up.
It's Just remove the regions and quadruple the size of the cities.
Well, no, they
do both.
They can't really. Well, it's like
fix the regions and quadruple the size.
Well, it's still if you still think that they're because of the simulation, they still can't really make the cities as big as you'd like. So they still do need the region. It's just like one is reliant on the other, unfortunately. But it's like maybe think about fixing the region in the next patch. That would be 4.0.
Didn't someone manage to hack the game so you can just so his version he could build outside of the city limitations?
Yeah,
and it worked just fine.
Well, I mean,
you could only build roads and things.
Well, I think he could zone.
Really?
Yeah, but it doesn't really help,
right?
Because you can't control it as well when it's outside the area.
No.
But so yeah, I mean, it's like
so the simulation could deal with it.
Well, no, because I mean, there's still going to be a limit to how many people you can simulate before it stops working.
I guess get a bigger machine.
Well, that's the problem. It needs some kind of. It needs either options with warnings, whereas if you run it like this, your system might not be able to handle it, or it should just auto-detect and tell you that your system can't handle it if you go up to this size.
Why couldn't it just more sparsely simulate as you go up?
Well, it already does that. That's the trouble.
So what's wrong with carrying on? Perhaps they need a hybrid model of this if they're worried about the simulation taking up too much resources, which I'm not sure I believe. Then it's do a hybrid between an actual simulation and the old probabilistic models.
Well,
combine the two to come up with, hey, you know what? This is what the situation is.
That is what people have been saying that they should do, but they're not ever going to because they're so gung-ho about their agents, where it's everything must be agents.
Well, and that is kind of noble to stick to their plan, but if it's they just need to reduce the limits on it for systems that can handle it, and maybe things are nicer.
Yeah.
And for those that aren't handle it, they need some kind of fallback.
Well, or just fine. Give it a system. It's it's because they.
I mean, they did specifically try and
design for low end,
which is a
horrible mistake.
Which is again noble, but the simulation you can't put a high end simulation engine on a low end platform. They just
or you shouldn't. If you're going to design for low end, you should make it so that it has some kind of. You shouldn't inherently limit everyone to the lowest possible denominator. That's just if you know that you could probably run more, let it run more when it can.
I mean, I know it's a difficult balancing act because you kind of do in software design have to target the lowest denominator, because otherwise you have an inconsistent game.
You can target them, but you don't. The idea that they. I mean, put a hard limit on everyone without even having options to have it extend.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could quite easily say on mine or your systems where we've got pretty meaty processors, then you could quite easily expand the city size, and I don't think it would be much of a problem.
Yeah,
it's the we talked about this before. I think it should perhaps be able to tell you, hey, I don't think your system is going to be able to deal with something of this size.
Yeah,
but don't stop everyone from doing it. Just sort of, I don't know if that affects the region play potentially.
Well, since the regions are pre-designed, then you should just be able to have a region which has mediums or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so everyone gets a large, everyone gets a medium, or perhaps there's just a spot, and you can have a pick to do a small, medium, or large in that spot. What I meant by that is if someone else has a large, say, how much your one is doing. Presumably, it wouldn't affect it too much.
Well, it depends on how many commuters there are. I suppose that might actually. If there's lots of if their city has a larger population than everyone else's, and therefore there's just more people in the region, that might start. Yeah, but then surely
the proportional simulations of what each one agent represents then comes into play in your smaller town. I don't need to simulate all of these guys. I just have one that represents 100 people, say.
Well, considering how badly the region simulation works at the moment, anyway, that's almost irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's obvious they could have done it better. Let's just put it that way. It's I don't think it's. I think the limit. Well, half of what they say about the limitations and stuff is at this point hard to trust because of all the other PR shit they've done.
Yeah. I saw there was a blog post on the official SimCity website where they've been doing behind the scenes of the programming, or where it shows you some of the agent simulation, and it's this is how it works, and then everyone in the comments is why is it done like this? It's terrible.
Yeah.
But there was one post that I saw, and the title of the post was "Back from the Brink," and what is it? it's about some guy who played a SimCity game and his city got fucked up and then he recovered it. It's like, don't use a title like that. Back from the Brink means you fix the fucking game.
What's never going to happen?
Hey, I've got a new segue
from
here that's conveniently noted. Remember Brink?
Right. What about it?
Fuck Brink.
Well, yeah, fuck Brink. It's like, but if looking back at it, before it came out and before everyone played it, that game had some pretty nice ideas.
Yeah. Especially the like environmental moving around maneuver shit.
Wow.
Was that Brink?
That was Brink initially, until they sort of downplayed that in the final thing.
That was gonna be cool.
But I was more impressed with the level. The element I'm targeting here was the level of customization and the level of character involvement and the level of that kind of element of the game was kind of where it was. Yeah, admittedly, the actual shooting and the actual maps and the mechanics of it, not so great. We didn't play it, so this is just secondhand information. But
I thought you did play it.
No, we didn't play Brink. But Uber Entertainment have launched early access to their new product on Steam called Loadout that seems to take the good elements of Brink and then putting it into a TF2 style game.
Yeah, I heard
so there's no guns. You have gun bits. And then you put them all together into weapons that you want and stuff like that, and it's all like
it's kind of bit gearboxy.
They're kind of stealing from the Borderlands playbook, but actually letting you build the guns rather than them just being made from automatically made from these part libraries, I guess.
Cool. That's good.
And the graphical style pretty TF, but with I don't know. Somewhat, it looks a bit Brutal Legendy in some of the character designs. The sort of very top heavy looking guys.
Right.
But I don't know. Colour me interested. Uber Entertainment have had a track record. Being
some guide.
Well, Monday Night Combat was pretty great. Super Monday Night Combat was we went so happy on the Momoba route they went, but it was it played fine. I didn't really. It's hard to fault it. It's just that it wasn't to our taste. And this seems to go slightly back on that. Back into the. It is going to be. It looks like it's going to be free to play, so it will still follow some of the Super Monday Night Combat model, and where the free to play elements come in, perhaps buying gun bits or how the drop system works is still questionable, but it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So just wanted to put that out there. Finally a game I can be interested in on my radar.
Really? Are you?
I was trying to think about it. It's like it's not.
What's coming up?
There's not much on that fussed about.
It's because
let's segue into news of a game that Rob might care about.
What?
There's new Sonic stuff coming to the Wii U.
Yeah, I do care about that. What is it? Sonic Lost World or something?
Yeah.
Or Lost Worlds. But yeah,
Sonic Jurassic Park crossover.
Yeah,
obviously.
I don't know. Wii U exclusive.
Oh yeah, that was the image they used on the joystick headline. Was in Lost World, a bunch of raptors, and then there's Sonic, and just with his finger.
The only image, not even screenshot, I guess, of it that they've released. It has a sphere world that has
hex areas on it.
Yeah, it's so now it's a 4X Sonic game, obviously.
Oh, sweet. That makes no sense.
I don't know. Recent track record of Sonic games suggests that this could be great.
And it's on the Wii U, so it's a Nintendo.
Yeah. However,
exclusive.
Theming, not so sure about. But yeah, this was basically Sega have done a deal with Ninty to pull a couple. Because the other game they announced was another Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games.
Winter Olympics.
Oh, Winter Olympics, yeah. So presumably.
I guess makes more sense than the Olympic Games. It's if there's snow, Sonic probably can't run as fast.
Yeah.
Not that there's really running in the Winter Olympics, but
But one more reason potentially for me to eventually get a Wii U and try it.
Yeah.
The EA people have been bitching about the Wii U. Some product manager guy, senior dev guy in some studio, some EA studio, first party EA studio, was just tweeting just in the open about how very unprofessional, really, saying the Wii U is rubbish. Basically, and why the hell they should have done a Sega and made all their stuff Zelda an exclusive for the PS4 or some shit.
Just get you what you think Ninty should just get out of hardware at this point.
He did. I don't know. I mean,
what do you think? I kind of think that's a good idea.
I think their mobile hardware could continue.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I'm not saying discontinue the 3DS and stuff like that, but I think as a main console player, unless they're going to somehow pull another Wii out of the bag, which, what are they going to do? To be honest, motion control. Where can you go with motion controls that doesn't patent infringe on Kinect at this point? Yeah, I don't know. I would love them to get out of hardware, because then that means their games become accessible. I think their games would become accessible to a wider audience.
Possibly. Yeah, I can see the argument. Definitely. I mean, it kind of worked out okay for Sega, although they're not as big a deal as they were. No,
they're not. But they have a few strong products that are keeping them going.
Yeah. I mean,
well, Sega, I don't think really know what to do with their IPs other than play the nostalgia card and either re-release or.
Yeah.
I don't think Sega have many internal teams anymore. They've got Sonic Team, they've got Sumo Digital, and at that point I run out of ideas.
To be honest, Nintendo are having trouble in that department as well. The Pikmin 3 is just Pikmin again, and that was a new IP, but that was way back GameCube times.
It's probably is it their newest IP? Really?
I don't know what's their newest IP. No, I guess Wii Sports.
Yeah, I guess. Or excluding the Mii's and that shit, but the Wii brand, I suppose.
Yeah, that is a brand. I don't know what's Nintendo's newest IP. They got something on the DS or something that's relatively recent. Pokemon is 10.
Pokemon's not even placed.
Yeah, it's old now.
15 years
Real
old.
old.
The most ancient.
Yeah. But that was a relatively new one compared to the Marios and Zeldas of the world.
I don't know. Smash Brothers is post Pokemon, isn't it? The N64 age.
Yeah. Not by that much.
Yeah.
By that logic, Mario Tennis and Mario Golf potentially.
I don't know if those count as new franchises.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say a sports game that also stars your characters is a new franchise.
Yeah. I don't think that counts. I mean, I think Smash Brothers counts.
Yeah.
Despite not having any of its own characters and being entirely made up of
Master Hand.
Other characters.
Yep, obviously.
It's got Master Hand. Yeah. That's depressing, thinking about the newest Nintendo franchises.
New Super Mario Bros.
Oh, yeah.
Does that really count? What? It is depressing when you put it like that. It's come on, Ninty. And even some of their good ones just lay to waste, isn't it? F-Zero.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean that's right. If they went,
Metroid hasn't been treated well since Other M.
Yeah, if they went back, hasn't
been treated at all since Other M.
Well, no, Metroid Prime 3 is the.
If they got out of console hardware, then maybe they'd start making awesome Metroid games and
they'd be forced to make games,
exactly,
which can only be a good thing.
Yeah,
but Pacto was going on about it's Japanese company running basically. While Sony seems to be embracing a Western approach to this stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
In how they're doing, Nintendo just firmly aren't. It's this is what we do. We stick to the game plan. We keep doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think Nintendo, like a lot of businesses do, they don't really hear the music when it changes. I think it was the phrase that was used in that market call. What was it? Margin call film. It's they don't hear it changing, and it's been changing for a while. Yeah, they did. They rewrote their own composition. I suppose they had a new arrangement with Wii, but they didn't smell it going.
We're smelling music now.
Rob's got synesthesia.
I've been playing too much Res. But you know what I mean? I don't think
they didn't smell the music going off. It was stale. Then they tasted it and it was horrible.
It was horribly stale, this music. Well, people say that. Anyway, that stuff is
That's
stale.
A different kind of stale.
True.
I don't know. I don't have faith in where Nintendo will go anymore, and that it saddens me.
Well, we'll see.
I do want to. That's the thing. I do still want to play Nintendo games, even if it is the same shit shoveled at me. It's just there's a certain quality level that Ninty always has.
Yeah, just look at Luigi's Mansion 2. It's
pretty great game.
Well-made game. It's fun.
I suppose Luigi's Mansion is a relatively new IP.
Yeah, it was Pikmin and Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
So those are the two that we're in the running for. Most recent, buddy, Animal Crossing. No, that predates the GameCube, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, as part of the Year of Luigi, they've announced that there's going to be a sort of standalone add-on to New Super Mario Brothers called New Super Luigi or something.
Which doesn't make any fucking sense because he's already in it.
Yeah, he's already in Super Mario Bros.
It's not like they've added a character or something.
It's like, what are they going to change, really?
It's like Luigi's going to be player 1. There you go.
Yeah. Swap the colours.
Well, I guess Luigi can already be player 1 because I think you pick characters in that game.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. But obviously no one wants to play as Toad, so...
Luigi.
So, yes. So next week, Xbox reveal?
Yeah, Tuesday.
2 days? Or 3 days?
So by the time this comes out, and by the time I've posted it on the website, and by the time you've heard it, it'll be old news.
It'll be very old, because... And there's no new rumours or anything surrounding it that anyone's heard?
No, not really.
I mean, everyone knows the specs, and no one knows the actual...
We don't know... We want to know service details.
Yeah, service details.
I mean, what we've...
The deets.
There's a question in my mind about how much we'll actually learn from this thing before E3. I don't think we'll see much on the game front, and I don't think we'll see much on...
Game front?
Well,
fun.
I know what you mean.
I don't
think we're going to see many game reveals, mainly because the reveal has only got a 1 hour slot. It's going to be televised.
Oh, right, okay.
It's not like the Sony... It's not going to be... There's not going to be like dudes standing there probably giving so much of a ridiculous intro before we see a trailer for a game. It's probably just going to be Microsoft talking about some stuff, trailer. They'll try and compress it all a bit, but I think that means that we probably won't see much. Simply because this is, as I say, because it's televised, this is going to be more broad consumer appeal.
Definitely.
So, the details that we all hunger for, I don't think we'll see.
Okay. It's a shame, because the Sony conference was quite impressive in some ways, for the detail they went into, dev-wise.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon we'll see it?
I don't know. I was going to ask that.
Are we going to see it? Well, the thing is...
I think we might. That might be the only thing we get, what it looks like.
I think we're so close to E3 that, by now, they must have the look of the thing.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
I think E3 is where we're going to find out the more interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's true. It's like June, early June, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's not long.
No, it's not. It's like 2 weeks after... Okay. Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks after the show. So, yeah, really close. E3!
And then we get to do another 3 or 4 hour long podcast.
The E3 cast.
Well, they're probably not, because there's one less conference, so that was shortening a bit.
What, no Nintendo?
Yeah, exactly. We would have to split it into 3 separate parts, I guess we only did 2 or...
Yeah. We had a pizza break.
Cool. Okay. Right, so we get on to what you've been playing after totally failing the...
we totally sabotaged your plan real good there.
Yeah, I'll have to try again next time. We'll see if we run out of time this time. Okay, Rob's turn this time.
All right, yeah. I got shit tons to talk about. So let's start with the one I alluded to last time, which was Devil May Cry. Holy crap. And I think I finished the last episode on holy crap, Game of the Year contender.
Okay.
It's so good! There's not much about that game I can really fault. I've not played too much of the prior Devil May Cry games. I played a reasonable amount of the first one, and then barely touched the follow-ups.
So you're not like a Devil May Cry fanboy?
No, not exactly.
Wanting the purist.
But for me, at least, the combat is so tight and so satisfying in that there is a real skill element to it. Despite all the crazy shit that's going on, it is responsive. You have to be disciplined. You have to be aware of what's on screen. It is...
Can't button mash at all.
It's a clusterfuck, but it's a controlled clusterfuck in a weird way.
Cool.
It's like you feel like every scenario, well, most scenarios, let's put it away, they can still... Most scenarios you feel like if you get hit or you've done something badly, it's you. And I talk about that a lot when I talk about games. It's like there's that feeling with a lot of video games where it's just... I hate the sensation of failing because I couldn't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
That circumstances just came together and I was destined to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think that happens in this game. It's like there are moments where you will get hit because something just off camera has launched an attack at you that you haven't quite been able to tell. But there's always like an audio cue. There's always, like, when something's shooting at you, they won't shoot unless there's like some indicator that they're about to do it or something like that you will be visible to you, or there'll be an audio cue saying they're aiming at you.
Right.
Stuff like that. The game is very good at telling you what's going on. And they even do, I think they do this, a sort of clever but somewhat exploitable trick where if something's not on screen, it's unlikely to launch an attack.
That's cool.
So you can, as I say, slightly exploit it by forcing stuff into a corner, so all you can see is the guy you're wailing on, and the stuff will be walking towards you, but they'll be reluctant to do any attacks while they're not on screen, which is kind of useful. But I don't know. And the more I play it, the more I'm getting more adept at it, and the more I want to mix up my strategy, or I'm finding weapons that I thought were previously useless and finding their use, like the shotgun. For instance, I had a bit of a run today, like with just figuring out how the shotgun is actually useful, and it's pretty good for crowd control and that kind of stuff. You push stuff away from you with it, and
oh, cool! It's got like a repulsive effect.
Yeah, it's got a knockback and and there's a there's a movie, I think it's called Showtime, where you push A and X together, and he just swings the gun around like a pair of nunchucks, shooting as he goes.
Yeah, awesome.
So it pushes a load of people away from you, and it's pretty neat. It's just there's so much style and so much finesse in everything that happens, and. Like, people talk about, the one thing that people say is like probably the game's downfall is that they said that while the main combat is really satisfying, really technical, really great, that when you get to a boss fight, most of that finesse that you need to know is kind of gone, because you just need to wail on a guy when his weak point is shown. It's fairly formulaic, and I don't know. Yeah, it's like not exactly very innovative in the way that how bosses are structured, if you know what I mean. It's like, dodge this guy's really telegraphed attack. Dodge this guy's really telegraphed attack. Oh, a big red spot has appeared after he hit too hard and has stunned himself. Wail on it. Oh, then something happens. And they do play like that. But the style of the boss fights just carries it. It's like, you don't really care. I don't care anyway. It's like, the boss fights are like a punctuation to the hard work you've been doing to get to that point. And it's like, I think that's what a boss fight should be.
Yeah.
It should be an occasion. I don't particularly necessarily care about how they play, as long as they don't play badly. And they don't play badly. They just play differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I love it. The production just really ramps up. The conversations between you and the bad guys are often pretty funny. The insults that are thrown to her are often really, really intense. Horrible stuff.
Awesome.
And it's, and the production goes out. The soundtrack at those moments are always fantastic. And that I have to bring out as well. The sound and audio in this game is superb. Really great stuff. Like Noisia, I think this is the first time Noisia have done a full-on game soundtrack. And all of the stuff they did is original for the game, and they just pulled in some Combi Christ songs for the hell of it. But they blend them in such a great way. It's a phenomenal piece of work. I think it's just fun. And
great.
I finished it the first time through on what they call Devil Hunter difficulty level, which is like its normal mode. And then there is a hard mode called Nephilim, and then it unlocks what is the harder remix mode, Son of Sparda, when you finish it the first time. So I'm trying to do that at the moment. It likes to throw more enemies at you, longer fights, stuff does more damage. The enemy attacks vary slightly from when you play it through the first time. So the game is still interesting, and it's still... I kind of feel like I'm stumbling a little bit through it, but I am a lot better than what I was when I first started playing it, which is kind of a requirement of a skill-based game, I suppose. But I pretty much love everything about it. I think it got overhyped slightly from some of the reports when it was first released, and tons of people were talking about it, that there are these moments in the game where we were like, what the fuck? Holy shit, oh, this is awesome. And it's like, because I was kind of know that these things existed, I was like, perhaps the impact of them was a bit lost on me, but there's or I kind of knew what was going to happen.
Was coming, right?
Yeah, not really knowing exactly the exact details, but that there was going to be something cool at this particular spot, and it's some of that impact was lost on me, but they are still cool.
Yeah, of course.
It's just not the mind blowing moment that I thought it was going to be, but there's DLC for it that I really want to try at some point, which is rare for me to actually be interested in DLC because it lets you play as Dante's brother Virgil, who has a different move set and you have to play it a little bit more staccato and a little bit more disciplined with your inputs, that kind of stuff.
Virgil. That's awesome how they're all named after like epic poets, right? Dante,
pretty much. Virgil, Sparta, Mundus is the demon king.
Right.
I don't know if the pattern probably falls down there. It's probably all based on stuff from the original games, but
right.
And it does. The good news with this is it kind of makes me like. I've been told that although the fighting is tight in this one, it's been tighter in the Capcom, in-house previous editions. So the bit of me is kind of intrigued now to sort of go back and perhaps give them another go, like because I'm enjoying this one so much. Maybe I don't think I'll get on as well with Capcom style quite so much because Dante's supposed to be more cocky, supposed to be more, and the setting is a little less modern. It's all more the Gothic architecture type stuff from what I've seen, and a bit like the Castlevania remake, the 3D one, like Lords of Shadow that they did a little while ago. It all looks kind of similar to that. So styling might be there, but apparently the gameplay is tighter in the Capcom ones.
Okay.
Probably coming from their fighting game heritage, they're used to that stuff.
That's true.
But hell, I'm intrigued to try it. And a few of those are available on Steam.
Cool. But give them a go.
So wait for a sale.
Yeah.
Wait for a sale.
Get a DMC pack or something.
Could probably always lend you Bayonetta as well.
Yeah, no, I really want to give that a go.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah. Well, the thing is again, I've this same friend of mine, Eddie, who'd been on the show a while back, has played both of them. And he says that it's weird because he's done them in the wrong order. He played DMC and then kind of tried to play Bayonetta afterwards, and apparently that's a bad route to take.
All right.
Because Bayonetta when you play DMC, it feels so good. You go back to Bayonetta, and weirdly, he says it's like it's got this dated feel to it that I didn't think I would experience, given that Bayonetta is so close to this DMC/God of War model.
Yeah. No, it's more in the kin of old Devil May Cry.
Yeah, it's kind of it's more Devil May Cry than God of War, but it's still apparently it's just that apparently it's not a good route to do it in, but they are still great games.
Yeah,
so it's like
I could see that. I'd probably get frustrated going back to Bayonetta having played this new DMC.
Yeah,
it's more Western stylings in places.
But yeah, I love it. Really love it. I'll try and get hold of the soundtrack, I think, on its own.
Very cool.
It's so good. So I've been doing that.
Devil May Cry.
I did, because I finished Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, and I think I briefly mentioned that last time. So I cleared the main career. And so I uninstalled that, because that seems to want to be one of my main motivations for finishing games at the moment, is so I can get them off my hard disk.
The most ridiculous motivation. Well, the second most ridiculous motivation after their achievements.
Yeah, I guess. But then, I found myself with this kind of. I wasn't expecting it, but there's sort of a gap in the sort of game I kind of want to play. Like Need for Speed filled that kind of. I don't particularly care about this, but it's interesting enough to just sort of pick up and play for a few. If I don't really fancy getting really into a game, this kind of feels nice.
You don't think there's any other games that you have that feel that slot?
Well, I do, but there's a couple installed that I think I should probably try and.
Oh, right. So you won't install a new game until you've got rid of something else.
A little bit. So naturally, I picked the closest thing that I had, which was Burnout Paradise, and tried to play a bit more of that. I still don't think that's. I say this every time I play it.
Every time.
I still don't think it's very good.
Don't try and finish that, for God's sake.
No, I'm close to getting what I think is the last license in the game, so I must be getting pretty close to. I don't know. I have no idea how far through I am, but I'm not going to be completionist on it. Getting all the billboards and stuff like that. But
I enjoyed, by the way, on the Giant Bomb, the Encyclopedia Bombastica on Burnout 2. That was fun. You guys should do
Well, we don't have the capability to.
That's true. Yeah,
capture kit
for some old GameCube shit.
We're really going to need to get hold of some of that.
Anyway.
But the trouble with that video was that they suck.
Oh yeah, of course they suck. Well, that's true in general.
Yeah, but it's like the best thing about Burnout is when everything's going really awesomely.
You just boost after boost after
boost. Particularly in that, because I almost forgot like that was how the boosts worked in the old
That you
Burnout.
couldn't fire it until you had it.
Well, not just when you had the full bar, but then like you actually the way it changed is you had to actually continue doing ridiculous shit whilst you were boosting, which makes it a lot more ridiculous.
Yeah, you had to do a little bit of stuff while boosting in order to earn the full burnout, so you keep going, and then you get a multiplier each time.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome.
And then when you're awesome, you just race the entire race in all burnout all the time. Yeah. You get like a 21 chain or something.
Super cool.
Man, I was never that good at it, but it's weird though, because I'm not sure I could go back to those having played the new Burnout style, without takedowns.
Yeah, takedowns are so good. Burnout 3 is one of my favourite games.
Yeah, definitely. And
full stop, possibly. I do like it a lot.
Yeah, Burnout 3 was great. I love the Xbox one as well. Was that Revenge or
the 3? Well, that was
first
on the
360 one.
Yeah, that was Revenge. Yeah, I didn't like the traffic checking, so I just.
It was funny enough that it kind of worked, and it kind of removed some of the annoying come around a corner. There's a car there crashing.
Well, that was where
which you couldn't really do anything about in some of the earlier games.
Yes.
Well, I mean, back in Burnout 2, it was like the traffic was set, so you could actually learn it.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true.
There were patterns.
Sort of ridiculous in its own way. But...
Although you could make it screw up if you just sat still for ages. You could see the traffic patterns reset periodically, which is kind of funny. Because it was sort of set, but it was sort of based on how fast you were going and at what point you reached parts of the track, so it would like trigger patterns at certain times, and
it had to try and always make it so that they'd cross over when you were getting there or whatever.
But it wasn't all. I suppose because you travel at different speeds each time, sometimes it was much more annoying than others.
Yeah.
But I think Burnout 1 was more susceptible to that than the second. Like, you could just get scenarios where it's like, I can do nothing about this. This junction is completely blocked with vehicles crossing it. Yeah. And I had the old school replay mode, which was cool.
I remember Burnout 3 having these weird difficulty spikes where occasionally it would give you like a time trial race where it gave you a car that was way ahead. Preview events. Yeah. It would give you a car that was way more powerful than anything you had, and then it had these ridiculously tight tolerances, which was so much harder than winning any of the races or anything.
They did that in 3, they did that in Revenge, they brought that back in Hot Pursuit.
It's weird.
And they would just look like annoying.
It's just so hard.
Well, so I don't know why in a game like that you'd do things like... Well, even in Paradise they do it with the burning root ones, which actually that's the worst bit. It's probably my least favourite bit of design in that game is like when they do the burning root challenges, because part of their philosophy in Burnout Paradise is to let's do as little as possible as we can in menus. So in order to change car, you have to drive to an auto place, then go through a menu to pick your car, ironically, and then you pick your car, you drive out, and then you have to drive to the burning route for that car because each burning route event is car specific. And then you do it, and then if you want, but there's quite a lot of these events, and they're scattered about, and you can only do them if you're in the right car for them. So it's like if you want to do them, you have to drive to an auto garage, get the car, come back to the thing. And I still hate the lack of restart button is super annoying, and the lack of a on-track GPS would be really, really useful to say, oh, okay, this is the simplest route without shortcuts you could take. Because sometimes, like, there's these incredibly subtle indication of which direction the game thinks you should take as you approach a junction. Like, you get this little when you get the junction name appears, and like the name of the roads you can take appear either side of it, and the one you're supposed to take starts flashing, and makes a very, very quiet sort of noise. But you're traveling so fast that by the time you see that, you have no time to react.
No chance to turn.
And you fuck like one or two of those up, and you're just so far behind, the event is lost. And you can't exit the event, as far as I can tell. You can't restart the event. So you just have to finish it in last.
Lame.
Or whatever. And it sucks. It really sucks.
It does really suck.
It's like, so I don't
know why people go in for Paradise.
Yeah, I do not understand it. The previous Burnout games are miles better. I think even to a certain degree, like judging by some of the structure in Most Wanted that Zach showed.
Well, it's basically like
some
they
of that
fix the problems of Paradise almost. Like, now you can restart a race.
I think I prefer
you can just teleport to it.
I think I definitely prefer to play that over Paradise, just for those little changes.
Sounds alright. Sounds better.
Yeah.
Speaking of menus in racing games, news alert!
News! Yeah, interspersing it back in. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, Gran Turismo 6.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
With menus that are
really
I haven't seen
not
it.
surprised even slightly.
Yeah, but I haven't seen it.
Coming out end of the year for PS3.
Oh, really?
Yep. And obviously it looks great as always, but they're fixing the stupid menus. And
what?
It's got all,
they say they're fixing
supposedly, so they're streamlining and shit.
Do they even know what was wrong?
Basically, the guy, some previewer said, "Oh, okay. Well, the second game on each generation of consoles is usually better. So, like GT2 and 4, so 6 might turn out to be a pretty nice, well-rounded game.
Bit late in the generation,
and
though,
also
isn't it?
they've got a bunch of stuff on." Like new tyre physics and stuff, so apparently it feels more Forza-like and more just like a car, I guess, but with the tight handling and stuff.
I just hope they fix collisions.
Well,
I hate collisions in that game. They feel too much like bumper cars,
right?
There's no real consequence to them.
Yeah, well,
it's like for a driving simulation, impacts are a big deal.
They don't seem to care about that.
No,
but
I think they always want you to drive like a clean race, or maybe GT's thing is more about time trialing, I guess. In which case, like colliding isn't such a big deal, I guess, because there's nothing to collide with.
Yeah.
But no, I've never liked that feel. It just if you're making a simulation, make a simulation. Do it right.
Mm. Well, they care about cars, so they had an unveiling event at Silverstone, and they've got Silverstone in the game, which looks pretty nice and stuff like that. So new tracks. Apparently,
they're doing that for a while.
They're doing DLC of a new track every week or some shit.
Oh, nice.
It's already got the 1,000 cars that were in GT5.
Mm.
So
I suppose maybe they can premium car up more of them.
Yeah. So that was slight news.
Yeah, I don't know. I think GT5 had a number of flaws in its design, not just like in its car modelling and in its physics, but in just the way the game handled itself, like how it would try and it would set aside like an allocated amount of space on your PS3, and then when you went to a track or something, it would try and install it during its load.
Right.
So next time you went to that track, it was there, but it would obviously the only tracks you'd have installed were the ones you were most using. So like the cars you owned, for instance, would be installed, and it sort of worked, but it just meant loading times were really, really long.
Yeah, they were long. I think they're focusing on fixing that, actually, loading times. That was one of the things they...
Will the soundtrack still have Japanese jazz? Don't forget, it was a close contender, or did we give it to one year for having the worst music in video games?
Quite possibly.
Yeah, no, I think it won, didn't it? For
just that loading music.
Worst music.
Wait, or was it defeated by Sonic 4? Was that year?
Sonic 4 was pretty bad.
It might have been defeated.
And the off-key loading music of GT5 was just so irritating.
So yes.
I don't know. Fuck Gran Turismo, if you ask me. But
fuck Burnout Paradise.
Yep. So what else have I been doing?
Fuck Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Oh, we're indifferent about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So indifferent, I don't even care to play it.
It was a good looking game, though.
Yeah.
So I also played a bit of 30-Second Hero, which I don't think I talked about before. Or Half-Minute Heroes, it's probably Half-Minute Hero Super Mega Neo Climax Ultimate Boy.
Yeah.
Is its full title. It's a pretty cool game, has to be said. Like, it doesn't have the draw with me, so I don't find myself actually wanting to play it, because I think I've kind of experienced the gist of it.
Well, the trouble with it is really that it was a mobile game.
Well, yeah.
And it obviously suits that better, I would say.
Well, it was also a indie game on XBLA before they made this PC version with a slight graphical update or an alternative graphic mode. And I don't know, I think it's pretty good. Basically, the principle is it's sort of mini RPGs against the clock. So you just wander around the map, basically. Fights happen automatically, and if you're strong enough, you'll beat stuff, or you can choose to run away. But and there's always a quest and there's always a goal to achieve within the time limit within the thing. But you have the ability to turn back time by paying money to like the time goddess and stuff. So there's a certain element of you juggle your 30-second timer, but you can only refill it up to 30 seconds. And it gets more expensive each time you do it, so you generally can't keep doing that within a level. There's usually some puzzle to solve within the limit, and fairly simplistic. There's one level based on Zero Wing, which is kind of cool. The evil lord is called Cats, and keeps saying all the quotes. And turns the level slowly sepia like a Game Boy. It's pretty cool. And they like playing with that a little bit. Like some levels will have options. There'll be secrets in them. Some of which are quite clever. It's generally a neat little game. But as I say, it doesn't quite have that draw because I think I've got the gist of it. And so therefore I'm not so intrigued to go back. If you know what I mean, I'm not sure it will be much different as I carry on. Perhaps that should be my Need for Speed-esque game that I should be playing, but it does have a couple of other things that I haven't experienced yet because I'm only playing what they call the Hero 30 mode, but then there's like Dark Lord 30 and Princess 30, and like which supposedly which may play differently. I don't know, so we'll see when I get to those. So that's that. Pretty neat. Like the music, like the art style. Oh yeah, that was the other one. My new game that I started on Xbox because it was free. Doritos are back.
Oh yes,
with Crash Course 2.
Of course they are.
Which has even less Doritos branding in it than the previous ones.
The classic.
That's an alright game as well. It's interesting and noteworthy in a way because it's an example of a sort of traditional free-to-play model on console.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's a free-to-play game, but you can choose to buy into it to get extra things.
Oh, right.
You can buy items and you can buy skins.
That wasn't in the first one, was it?
No, it wasn't. The first one was just a free game.
Mm.
This one is a free-to-play game with bought-in extras. You can choose to, like, say, spend real money to skip ahead and unlock levels that you haven't reached yet, and if you're finding it difficult. Because in order to unlock all the levels normally, you kind of have to be fairly completionist about each level as you go.
Right.
Like, because you will otherwise hit a point where you're not earning enough stars to unlock stuff. And so you can buy these coin things that let you do other stuff, or you can buy what they call jinxes, so you can, in the middle of a multiplayer game or something, you can turn your competitors into other stupid models to confuse them, like turn them into a chicken or something. So it's,
cool.
It's pretty solid. There's like the platforming's actually quite nice, and they've introduced elements of it's not just about getting to the end of the stage as fast as you can. There's stars scattered about the levels which force you to do a bit of exploration, and some of them are quite tricky platforming maneuvers to pull off. Stuff like that. The only place the game falls down really on that note is that because it uses avatars and it's running at like 30 frames per second, sometimes your precision, it doesn't quite feel precise enough for you to do the things that the game seems to want you to do.
Why can't they make that run at 60?
Yeah, exactly. It's like why doesn't that game just work at 60? It's like they don't. Basically, they could have cut back on like some of the backgrounds for the levels are quite busy. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. Like the jungle levels always seem to have an alien spacecraft flying around beaming shit up.
Okay,
and you're just like, well, that doesn't need to be there.
It's a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, and I would rather they went for frames over.
Crazy crap.
Over ridiculous stuff happening, and so like the snow level is kind of annoying because it has like seals in it which are making like ar noises, but one of they come out of one of the rear speakers and they sound a bit like a dog just outside the window. So there's a really annoying dog out there. Like I have to keep checking to see what's going on outside. It's like it's a seal in the back speaker. It's kind of annoying. And there's a platforming mechanic they have where it's like the duck jump. So if you want like extra height or something, you can be running along and you push down before you want to jump, and then jump, and you get a bit more height out of it.
That's
and potentially some more length, which sounds cool in theory, except it's super difficult to pull off at just the right moments. Like you'll often have to chain those together, like duck jump on. That stuff is, the game kind of expects it of you quite early. And it's pretty difficult to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's nice in places, but what the game asks of you for it is a bit much. Personally, and it's throwing that stuff in quite early as well. So I wonder where it's going to go with that. I think the levels just get more mechanically weird, like in terms of the gimmicks and stuff going on, as opposed to asking more of you from a control perspective. But yeah, it's interesting. It's worth a look for a free game, and there's Chivos.
Chivos.
There's like 400 points worth of achievements for a free game, so
cool.
Go for it. And it's all right. It's not too bad. I think it's interesting that that it's still Doritos and it's still free. It's like what they didn't do a competition for it this time, because the whole point of the Doritos thing was that they were like game design competitions.
Yeah,
that's why we got the first Crash Course game, and why we got that other one they did that year, which was Harm's Way.
Yeah,
which was actually a pretty cool concept.
Yeah,
and I want to see someone do something with it, but it didn't work because it was mostly online and there weren't enough people playing it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
obviously that one won. Crash Course won the competition.
Well, no, I think that both of those won the competition, and they just made both of them.
Okay,
and it's like, yeah. I'm just going to stop there. I think there's not much really else to talk about. I did play Sonic Dash on iOS. I guess it's meh.
It's meh.
It's meh.
It's meh. No.
Oh, and I did briefly try that Flying Aces or whatever it is.
Ace Patrol.
Yeah,
cool.
That game was more complex than I was expecting.
Yeah, I segue into me then because I've got Ace Patrol. Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I haven't got very far. If I'm honest, I've only played like a few missions. But it's I can see the idea they're going for, but I can't quite get my head around the maneuver system in the sense that of making it do exactly what I want to do.
Right.
If you know what I mean. I haven't quite grasped where the limitations of that system lie.
Right.
But it's interesting. It's definitely cool. Original.
Yeah.
Having to plan out a turn-based maneuver system.
Turn-based air combat sounds insane, but it actually works.
It kind of does.
Especially with the height mechanic.
Yeah, the height element's interesting. The banking element is interesting, as in what state you're crafting and defines what moves you could do on the next turn.
Well, that's the key thing.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm so keen on the concept of having to unlock maneuvers for certain pilots or unlock... I'm not sure that element quite gels with me yet, because it's kind of difficult to know what you can and can't do based on your current scenario anyway, let alone knowing what certain pilots are capable of.
Yeah, you have to know that your guy can do an Immelman turn or something.
Yeah, or pull a loop right now to avoid fire.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I guess because it seems to reset people's skills at the start. You get a new team at the start of every campaign, I think.
Yeah.
So they then have to learn their maneuvers. Yeah, it's quite hard to keep track of. Even if you've only got two guys, it's like, which one is the guy that can do the powered climb on the Yeah, because you kind of need to know that before you dive in. Yeah,
well, because your plan has to be several moves ahead.
Yeah,
really,
theoretically,
a bit like a form of chess.
Exactly. Yeah, but I had quite a lot of fun with it. I haven't bought any of the campaigns yet, but I might.
No, I haven't reached the end of the first one yet.
Yeah, but yeah, it's quite fun. You get the different planes and the different upgrades to the equipment as well as the maneuvers. So you get more machine guns and stuff and more armor.
Oh, cool. I think some of the presentation is lacking. Like even from an iOS game, it's kind of like there's some irritating elements. Like I don't know if you've seen whenever you go back to a screen featuring your lead pilot or something, they do a sound clip, and it's always the same sound clip. And I picked the woman from the start because it sounded like some of her moves would be more interesting, or her ability, or whatever.
I think they're different every time generated. Like sometimes women or men.
Oh, are they? Oh, okay. Well, I picked one, and she basically, whenever I go back to the menu, she says "excellent."
Excellent.
No, she doesn't say excellent. It's excellent.
Excellent.
it's a really annoying voice. She's like excellent.
Well, she's like they're all super posh, aren't they?
Yeah.
She's like, thank you, sir.
But that'd be all right. But I don't know. There's something about it's excellent. No one says excellent.
Oh right, okay. Yeah.
And sometimes it plays 2 or 3 times in a row if you're going through certain bits of menu or certain bits of the tutorial. And excellent. Next page. Excellent. Shut up.
Yeah. That. Potentially quite annoying. Yeah. I had quite a bit of fun with it though. I'm not sure how much variety there will be going forward because it's okay, there's balloon attack missions and there's defend your tanks and attack the enemy supply trains.
Well, there's one enemy aircraft who's like a
ace guy, and attack the ace with one of your guys, or like attack a whole squadron of them with your 4 dudes, or whatever. So there's quite a bit of variety, but it's like, I'm not sure if you're heading straight for a bunch of them and they're heading straight for you. Do you like? I've been experimenting with like peeling off and trying to come around behind them and stuff, but sometimes
it takes a while to pull that off. Is the thing?
Yeah, it does take time. You do have to be patient because
see, what's happened to me so far is whenever I've had a plan to do that, like I'll peel one guy off to say, right, you're going to come around behind them.
Yeah,
but then the guy would just immediately go after them.
Yeah, follow them. Yeah,
I'd have to change the plan of my other guy who perhaps was peeling off in the opposite direction for the moment.
To like bang the other way.
Now you've got a really long time to come back, and I can catch him off guard. But actually, what actually happened is the initial guy. The original guy that was ended up being chased just sort of pulled a turn and shot him.
And it worked.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
It's at the moment I don't feel like I can plan because or if something goes wrong, I'm just like, well, the chasing guy will just finish the guy off. Don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't quite have that same dogfight edge. I think there's like where if someone's behind you, it's like you're in trouble.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you've got no maneuvers, you are kind of. I have had a guy being chased, and there was just nothing I could do except get my other guys to
try and save him.
To save him because he just didn't have the maneuvers to get out of it.
I mean, all of this sounds really great in concept, but I'm just not sure the execution's there. It's a fantastic idea, and it's not one I've seen before.
I think it's quite nicely made. I mean, my main problem is that on the iPhone is I sometimes select the wrong move because like one tap is like preview the move, which is good, but sometimes you're trying to select the other move that's on the same square, on the same hexagon.
It must be showing it pretty zoomed in on the phone.
Yeah, it's pretty zoomed in. You don't get much tactical view, and the zooming. Because you can pinch zoom and but that really fucks up your view, and I find it quite hard to reset it.
I found it really sensitive. The moving around the map.
Yeah, that's quite. It's a bit oversensitive, but I certainly like the concept. I had quite a bit of fun with it. So
I didn't have a problem with that stuff on iPad. Has to be said.
It's probably a lot better.
Just pushing, selecting the move was fine on iPad, but cool. As I said, the map stuff is still sensitive, even there. But yeah, interesting. I wonder what else could be done with that sort of concept. Of how that kind of turn-based movement would work.
I guess they'll see how it goes. I mean, I think Sid Meier just wanted to make a game where he could actually do the majority of the programming. Yeah. Given that he's just one dude and that he runs a major studio.
Yeah, or to finally create a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was his bag. That's what he's known for.
Exactly, because he's been doing some game jams and stuff and enjoying those. So I think he quite liked the idea of doing it. And I think it's come off quite nicely. So hopefully there'll be more of that kind of style of. I think
also a good precursor to Firaxis in mobile space.
Well, exactly. I mean, they handed off the Civ stuff to another company, didn't they, to do the Civ Rev port for iOS, stuff, but that came out really nice. So,
but yeah, it was okay. It was too simplified for my tastes, but
Civ Rev is a bit simplified.
Yeah, I mean, there was not a lot to do, to be honest, in the end game of that. But I suppose that's true of Civ in general. You get to a point where you don't really have to do much; you'll just win eventually.
Well, I guess they've got the new stuff coming, haven't they, for the culture victories and shit. Have you seen that stuff?
Boo to them.
Boo to them.
It was the same problem with when they put religion and shit back in. It's like, boo! Don't add this shit back into the game. Put it in there from the start, you idiots.
Yeah, well, at least they're getting to fix it eventually.
Yeah, but I don't care any longer. It's actually taken quite a long time, I guess.
To get it back up to Civ 4 standards.
Yeah, it's just like, I guess it probably took quite a long time for Civ 4 to have expansions as well. Yeah. But it's like at this point, by the time they've made it to Civ 5, it feels like they've become like a better studio or a larger studio that should be able to ship this stuff out faster.
Because they've got XCOM.
Well, it's two separate teams, isn't it?
But, well, yeah.
Well, maybe it's not, but I guess.
But the production values of Civ 5. It's like
they're quite high.
Yeah. That makes it feel like, why is it taking so long to just make this expansion?
It's harder to do features.
And there's probably a tiny team working on this DLC because most of them probably moved over to the XCOM team while that was in full development.
Possibly, yeah.
And there's just this small maintenance team probably working on it and carrying on. It's like
stuff.
My question here is like, how much am I going to care about this added stuff? Because
Depends how you play. If you like the culture victories, you'll care. If
I was about to say, because
if you just crush everyone.
Well, I don't know, is the thing. I don't know, because I haven't really played a Civ game properly since Civ 2. Well, actually, Alpha Centauri, I suppose I played a bit. Without the knowledge of those mechanics, really, how much am I really going to care if I go into Civ 5 base, which, I have thanks to your XCOM purchase. Yeah. Is it, so, okay. So by that silence, I guess it really doesn't matter that much.
Well,
it's like culture victory is a victory.
Yeah.
But it's just one of the options. And it's laid out well enough in Civ 5 by itself.
Is it just...
It's not like the religion... Actually, I don't know. Did that pack add new victory conditions? Was there like a religious victory?
Or was it just an influence affecting...
Yeah. Because in Civ 4 there wasn't really... I guess in Civ 4 it made it easier to win in other ways, because if you could spread your religion, then you had the influence over other cities and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think it had its own separate win condition, so that's why probably this new victory one is the same thing. It's going to probably affect the culture game without being an actual new condition.
I don't think it's a new condition. It's just, it makes it a different way of achieving that goal.
So what did that actually do? Like when I say like you're affecting influence, is it like how easy it is to make people riot in other cities, or
pretty much. I mean, in Civ 4 with the religion, it just made it so that cities that had your religion that were over on the enemy's borders would sometimes just change sides. That was how culture used to work in Civ 4, though. It's like if you had a really high culture city next to their borders, then it made the other adjacent cities want to transfer to your empire.
And you used to get like if you took over a city that was like if you forcibly invaded a city that was full of people who hated your culture, that they would just riot all the time.
It would be a problem,
which makes sense. So if they're already predisposed to liking your culture stuff, then probably, and your religion, that probably helps them integrate into your empire.
Religion and culture are essentially the same mechanic.
Yeah, sort of
similar.
It was just it's like a different way of spreading it. Because obviously the culture was just sort of inherent, whereas religion you actually had like prophets or whatever. So
you'd have to send guys
missionaries and stuff. But now you've got like works of art in this new thing that you can like, and you can like put in museums in certain cities and move around. And
it's like deployable culture, I guess.
Deployable culture, yeah.
So even so, culture is a slightly more passive mechanic than religion by that definition. Okay.
Which it kind of is in reality.
Yeah.
Somewhat more passive than religion, which is just going out there all the time.
Well, in reality, I don't think very many times in the history of the world has a city completely changed its allegiances based purely on how awesome that other city looks.
Yeah.
That's
hey,
true.
I want some of your buildings. Can we if we swap to your alliance, can we have your architects?
Soft power is extremely important in the modern world, though, isn't it? Like Hollywood and stuff has a huge influence on kind of the world, like in terms of American hegemony. Anywho. Where were we? Oh, it was me. Oh, Bioshock Infinite, yes.
You finished it?
No, I'm getting towards the end. I'm in Comstock House now.
That was another game I started playing, actually, on the shooter front. Sorry, just suddenly reminded me. Crysis Warhead.
Oh, good. Great. You can finally get out of the way so you can start playing 2.
Which was my original plan of what
God damn it!
Yeah, so it's sorry for it, but I've only played a tiny bit of that, and it's... At the moment, it feels like a slightly less good version of the original Crysis. Problems and all. The story is...
I thought that was the kind of thing.
Well, yeah, there's like... nothing is even... Nothing's been explained. I'm killing dudes, and it's like I suppose you're kind of expected to know the first game in order to get anything out of this one, but it's a standalone thing, so you can't quite get away with that, I don't think, in terms of a product. But anyway, it looks freaking sweet on my new card, though.
Cool.
It's a good looking game.
How old is it?
Old. Like 5 years or something.
5 years old. Awesome.
Probably more than that, probably 6. But it's a pretty good looking game. We've got some ugly object pop in, even on high detail, but it's a pretty sweet looking thing.
Cool.
Yep, sorry, interruption over.
That's okay. Yeah, Bioshock. Later in the game, the environments get bigger and the frame rate goes down. It's quite noticeable that, like, if you just set your graphic settings to nice and high at start, it's like everything's nice and smooth, everything is cool, and you just keep playing the game. Eventually, things start chugging a bit. I haven't bothered to adjust. I've just carried on with it, but it's certainly still playable. But it's just a little on my system. It's just a little bit. I think it's because my graphics card is old. I was surprised that it worked so well as it did when I first started it. But like there was a giant section with skyhooks all over the place where an enemy Zeppelin came alongside, and you had to skyhook up into it and destroy the engine and then jump off. It kind of reminded me of.
It's a bit of a quick time in a way.
No. It reminded me of like Scorpions in Halo 3. A huge area where you have to get onto its back and actually inside it and stuff.
Scarabs.
Scarabs.
Scorpions are the tanks.
Sorry, Scarabs. Yeah. That's why I meant Scarabs. Which were cool in Halo 3.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. Because there was no quick timiness about it.
No,
it was real.
You had to somehow get onto it and then somehow kill the dudes on board and somehow destroy the core. Or if you were lucky, you could just shoot it sometimes from outside.
Yeah. There was that bit towards the end where there were two of them in one giant sandpit thing.
That sequence is nasty.
That was hilarious. You could get one, and then you were kind of in trouble, weren't you? I seem to remember.
Well, yeah, because you'd used your route to destroy the first one. It's like, well, how am I going to
fly on top of the first one? Couldn't you?
Well, yeah. You could kind of like with the second one, if you were lucky, it would be near that structure, so you could climb it and jump on it.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. I just remember hiding behind a tiny piece of cover and stepping out and seeing the gun go, what? And then stepping back in and go, so it's like looking at you, about to blow the shit at you with a giant laser.
Yeah, the moment you move.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Anyway, so Bioshock, yes. Story is moving along. Obviously, there'll be some weird, crazy twist ending and stuff, but they're starting to explain some of the weirdness with the quantum teleportation stuff. Like, for example, the kind of weirdness of barbershop quartets in the game singing popular songs of the 70s and 80s.
Oh wow!
There's some.
I didn't know it did that.
Yeah. Like really, at the start of the game, there's on a floating barge. There's a barbershop quartet singing the Beach Boys. It's like it's 1910 or whatever it is. This is
how do they have this?
Yeah, and I even caught them singing "Shiny Happy People" later on in the game, which was a bit. I know this song, and but yeah, you get these tears occasionally, and you can sort of hear like I heard "Fortunate Son" by Creedence Clearwater Revival coming out of a tear, and then eventually I found a little shop where the guy who writes the songs must live, and he had a voxophone explaining that there was like a tear and he can hear all this music through. Yeah, he was like writing all the songs down. That was kind of cool. Yeah, he's a total bastard. So anyway, and the city is pretty fucked. I've been like fighting ghosts with machine guns, which has been a bit weird. Like it'd been normal guys up until now, basically. I mean, but and now it's going a bit crazy with like weird zombies and shit. I don't know exactly what's going in. I think I've gone into Comstock House, and I think I'm supposed to be avoiding these like guys, like doing a stealth section. But I got a bit. It wasn't obvious at first, and I just ran straight up to the guy, and he was like, "Ooh," and then like a million like zombies appeared, and I had to fight them. But the combat on the regular difficulty is pretty easy once you get the all the vigors and stuff. Okay. So you're recommending like for most people try it on hard? Or? I think so. I think if I'd gone back, I probably would have tried it on. If I could go back, I probably would try it on hard. It's interesting. The thing is, I tend to I like the game is kind of encouraging you to use different vigors and different guns, especially just because you run out of ammo, which is annoying because I usually like to pick like having some stuff. And stick to them. It's got like the 2 gun system, and I just go for the classic Halo. My combo in Halo was the pistol and the plasma rifle, the long range sharpshooter and the rapid fire, but decent. Plasma rifle's not that long range. No, I meant the pistol was long range. Oh, yeah, the pistol was. Because it had a scope on it and shit. So in this game, I'm going for the carbine for like long range. Despite it doesn't have a scope, but it's basically like the pistol or whatever. And the machine gun.
Okay.
But then you just end up running out of ammo for. I mean, there are these.
Well, it's kind of nice in a way. Halo does that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like some of its iterations where you can't really stick with your weapons.
Yeah, so you have to pick up something.
Well, yeah, probably less so in the later iterations, but in the earlier ones, you found yourself not always with a human weaponry nearby, so you had to make a decision to swap to Covenant stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But I mean, you can buy weapon ammo from vending machines that are all over the place.
Yeah.
You can even do it during boss fights sometimes, sort of. At first I was like, it's desperately searching everywhere for money because you really need to save up for the upgrades to the Vigors at first. But now I've kind of upgraded the Vigors that I like. I tend to use the Murder of Crows.
Okay, yeah.
Which is incredibly effective. Once you've upgraded it, the people that die turn into traps of crows. So more people arrive and they get murdered by crows. And it's just
awesome.
Super crow. And then I just use the electroshock for targets that are immune to the crows.
Okay.
Which is like any kind of big thing, like a mechanical patriot or
stunning time,
or the guy with the giant hands. That dude.
The man with the hands.
I can't even remember what that guy's called. The guy you have to shoot in the chest.
I don't know. Anyway,
but yes, I will let you know what the ending's like. But certainly fun, and it's I get this feeling a lot when with modern media. Like I remember when I was listening to Bombcast years ago, and Ryan had gone to see Avatar, and he said that film looked expensive. It's like no judgment of the film itself. It's just like every frame just looks expensive, and that's kind of an indictment because it's kind of, if you're thinking about how expensive the film was to make while you watch it, you've not been drawn into it, have you?
You're not watching the film.
But and I sometimes get that, and I mean, I am drawn into Bioshock definitely, and it's a great world. But you just look around these environments, and they're beautifully constructed and everything. And it's like, this looks expensive. I don't know. Like the production values are just insane on Bioshock Infinite. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, which is good, obviously, but it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, even after this long of playing it, you're still having those moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, but so they're not giving you. So in a weird way, you're not like taking in the scenes as a sort of like, oh, that's pretty, and then like awe, in a sense of awe. I guess it's more like,
but yeah, not hugely.
I don't know quite how you define that. Like, what makes the difference between that? It's like when, I don't know, in some games we get that tech and it's like, oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
You're thinking that's impressive, not oh, this is a dark, moody environment or something. Like I don't know, the one that springs to mind was level 3 in the first Gears of War. All the rain is coming down.
Oh yeah,
and you can't help but think, wow, this is quite impressive.
This is cool. Yeah.
Well, for the time.
Yeah, it was. That was moody though.
Yeah, but that was, I was more impressed with.
Yeah,
the tech of it.
Yeah,
I think at that point, and I don't know, maybe as game players, as people into technology, that unfortunately that's just
the feeling. Yeah,
it's just what we notice.
Well, I wouldn't say with Bioshock it's the tech necessarily. I mean, it looks great, but I wouldn't say it's like, wow, that's amazing before, tech. Yeah. It's like, wow, this like art design and this production design on this.
Yeah, I think maybe I'd be all right with that, because. Maybe for me that would have more of the desired effect than, oh, that looks expensive. Maybe it's just me impressed.
Yeah,
like, and if it's all themed and all still good, then perhaps I wouldn't have that. Like, I don't know. I think that's a lot more of an acceptable feeling. I think than sort of just taking a moment to stop and going, ooh, look at the texture detail.
Look at the texture detail.
You didn't take a minute to stop in that one though.
You were flying by.
The classic origin of that quote.
Yeah.
Playing Sonic Adventure. Going way too fast.
At the time.
Look at the texture detail.
Well, yeah.
Look at you, Gib.
At the time.
Not that Sonic gives or anything, that was just a turn of phrase.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, yeah, at the time, texture detail on the Dreamcast was
quite a lot better and step up
from anything we'd seen before.
Certainly.
And yet, even then, you were still obsessed with texture detail.
What was like? The textures weren't really. They hadn't really moved forward for a while. In fairness, we'd had the PlayStation, and the N64.
They're getting noticeably better even these days, texture detail.
Oh, well, yeah, that's one of the things. Apparently, like the PC version of DMC has these high resolution textures that are at times, like some of the floor detail, say in the mansion of the second level is pretty up there.
Yeah.
It's pretty sharp. Even if that's the only thing they've improved in the game, texture detail goes a long way.
Yeah, it certainly does.
If you've got resolutions and hardware that can support it, it's you don't need a lot of time with these crazy new features like fancy new anti-aliasing, volumetric fog lighting. No, just
particles and lighting effects.
Just a sharp texture.
Just make it look good. Yeah.
Will immediately make everything look a lot better. It's nothing worse than coming across a bit of blurry wall.
Yeah,
just somewhere where you're not expecting it to be crap detail. You just suddenly walk up to it and it's like, Actually, that's probably the one thing that Crysis hasn't aged quite so well. Some of the textures aren't quite as detailed as perhaps they could be, compared to modern standards. But they're still pretty good.
That was always one of the strengths of the Source engine originally, wasn't it? Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't massive, with the exception of the physics. It wasn't massively a massive leap, I suppose.
But it had nice texture.
But the texture detail for the time was pretty sharp. Yeah, and it supported anisotropic filtering, which was kind of new, which made stuff look sharper at distance.
Yeah, that stuff's cool. Right, Zachary Burgess, what have you been playing?
Well, first of all, we've got to go over the story of when I wasn't playing what I've been playing, because I had to say...
We've got to go over that story.
Yeah. I had to send my 3DS into Nintendo's repair place.
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about it.
No, because that happened after the last podcast.
Yeah.
Do you know where that is?
Somewhere in England, so... No. I don't know. Somewhere in the north.
So I actually went to an English plant?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Because, when I had to get my Xbox fixed, that went to Germany.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
But, yeah, so it was the camera... apparently it was only the outer camera, but it was also fucking with the inner camera, where it just wasn't starting the cameras correctly. And I thought this was going to be, like, a big problem for them to even diagnose, because it was intermittent. It would, like, only happen... if you turn the system off and leave it for some mystery period of time and then turn it on and we just went immediately to the camera thing, it would totally work. But then if you'd been doing anything else on it for a certain period of time, it would mysteriously stop working. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be a nightmare, and they're just going to be like, could reproduce this error or something. Apparently they could, so it was okay, so they fixed it and then they sent it back in like under a week, I guess.
Well, it got into the state where it wasn't intermittent anymore.
No, it was. Even when I had it here, it's just like you have to, if you want to fix it, you had to have turned it off for like an hour or something.
Oh, yeah, I remember you saying it was somehow related to it being off.
Yeah.
It's weird, that.
Yeah. But apparently they fixed it and sent it back. And then I discovered the hilariousness of, I've got one single Street Pass on my DS now from someone else whose the DS was fucked because it appeared while it was in the repair shop. I Street Passed with someone else's broken DS.
Awesome.
Which was pretty dumb. It wasn't even I was like, oh, maybe it's an official Nintendo repair guy's me or something, because that'd be kind of funny in itself, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was some dude.
Was part of their like release testing. Oh, we better make sure this bit works.
Yeah, exactly.
Test the Wi-Fi by turning Street Pass on.
But apparently they probably just use someone else's 3DS for that test, if they even test that.
Actually, how does that work from a technological standpoint? Because it's like, do the DSs just literally ad hoc Wi-Fi to each other, or is it some other proprietary tech, like a...
Don't really know.
Like a Bluetooth
Nintendo would never go to tell you that kind of detail.
No, but...
You have to work it out for yourself.
Yeah, that just suddenly dawned on me. How does that work?
Well, the thing is, it's like... I mean, obviously it does wireless internet or whatever. So it still has that kind of wireless, but and you can't toggle it individually. If you hit the wireless switch on the side, it just turns everything off, which I guess is more like an airplane mode or something, really. So yeah,
not that seems to be a problem anymore for some airlines. Yeah.
Or at least they don't make a big deal of it any longer.
But they still do when you're sat there, or like during takeoff and landing. Last time I flew, which was a while back now, actually, I guess, thinking about it, but even then it was stressing, make sure all electronic devices are turned off during takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
Like, every electronic device, like MP3 players and stuff like that, things that aren't devices that weren't Wi-Fi capable, they'd pull you up on. And then, of course, there's always someone you can see that's got something out or their phone's still on. Or I was sat next to a couple once that were just like, you just put it in the cover, no one will know. And it's like, I'm sat right there and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm dubious about the science of this as well, but but I'm still going to do what they say, just in case. I think someone somewhere probably knows better than I do, so I'm not going to think otherwise. Sorry, that just wound me up a little bit. Stupid old couple.
Right.
Not very technologically savvy.
Well, yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got that back. I got my one street pass, the one and only street pass that I'll probably ever get at this rate. God damn it. Despite trying to carry it around in Ipswich. Yeah, and then...
Do you reckon people just turn it off rather than leaving it on? Or...
Maybe. Or maybe no one has one. It's hard to tell. Just start holding it up in the air and being like, anyone?
Yeah. just go into the middle of town and go, street past me!
Probably work on the tube.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably working anywhere that's a higher population than fucking Ipswich.
Yeah, maybe if you were commuting more regularly.
Yeah,
maybe. But then, do people that actually have jobs and commute for that stuff have a 3DS?
Really? The other thing is, that
I just play Bejeweled.
I'm still not entirely sure because it's still not very well explained. But I'm not actually even sure Street Pass works unless you've got it in standby mode.
That would make sense.
Well, would it?
It would have to be in what you mean? As in, it has to be in standby, not on.
Yeah. It has to be turned on and closed in order for Street Pass to actually do it.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
but
does it though?
Instead of open?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
It's not been very clear on that fact.
And then
it also
kind of dumb.
It also doesn't help that they have their other system that's like Spot Pass, which works differently from Street Pass, and that's not even very well explained.
You did try and explain that to me.
It's like Spot Pass just means it connects to the internet and gets data, whereas Street Pass is the DS to DS thing. Like Spot Pass is basically checking for updates.
Then you get Spot Passes for going, hey Nintendo, you got anything for me?
Yeah, basically.
From a different Wi-Fi hub?
You don't get anything for it. It's just like... It's like if you enable it in a game, it's basically how it checks for DLC.
Oh, strange. It's a weird... Why give it a name like that? It's like for basically saying check for updates.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
It's kind of dumb. Oh, well, okay, that had me properly confused. Like what the difference was, and as it turns out, it's not what it sounds like.
Yeah. And it's not even consistent. I mean, it's like if you're in Fire Emblem and you want to look and you want to check for updates from within Fire Emblem, like if it hasn't Spot Pass, because it also if you have Spot Pass turned on, when it does it normally puts a notification on your home screen on the notifications list where it's like this game has updated, and then you can just hit a button and launch the game. So
it doesn't just update the system; it will update things you have as well.
Things that you've turned it on for in each individual game. But if you want to activate it from within, like Fire Emblem, you go to the wireless menu, and then you go to like the bonus box, and then you go update now, and it never says anything like Spot Pass. I guess it's not a Spot Pass at that point because it's a manual update, and Spot Pass is this thing that it does by itself in the background.
Spot Pass is basically just having Steam on.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, that's still dumb.
I suppose that's news as well.
Is it?
Steam trading cards.
Oh yeah.
Which I managed to get into the beta for that this morning, and I have yet to play a game that supports it. But it's basically the Valve stuff and Don't Starve, weirdly. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. As far as I can tell, it's entirely pointless. It's like an over game. Like they were trying to do this before, like during the sales and stuff, and it kind of makes sense during those moments or ARG type stuff to have like kind of weird tie-ins. But now it's like they're making all of Steam gamified. Like you gain experience and Steam levels for having these things.
They already put achievements in Steam, so just turn it into a little bit of a game. Next step.
But it's weird. It's all like
it's true.
Like all those achievements are still kind of dumb. Like, recommend a game, write a guide for this game, and now these you have to gain these cards, and then once you have an entire set of which you can only probably gain half of through normal play, and then you have to somehow trade your other ones from other games to get a set or something. You then craft them into a badge for that game. Once you have the entire set, which has nothing other than giving your Steam profile experience and your ability to tag your profile with a badge, like a calling card in COD, I suppose. It's like, when is everyone going to see this shit? It's like,
well, when it comes out of beta for a start.
But, it's like, what's...
They'll probably make the profile...
Why do I need a calling card or a badge when I can just change my profile picture? I really don't get it.
Separate from your profile picture. The profile picture is more important because it's an icon that also appears in games and stuff. Whereas if it's like even in COD, you're not really seeing the calling card unless you go and look at it. It's mostly just a name.
The calling card appears on screen all the time in COD.
Yeah, but it's not like important. It's not for recognition of who's who. It's just like, guy's...
Well, yeah, these are his notifications. Like, this guy got first blood and the calling card will come up. Yeah. This guy killed you and it will show you his calling card. Or...
It's not like the actual icon of the player or the name.
I don't know, it goes hand in hand with that stuff, doesn't it? Isn't that the whole thing? It's like on Xbox Live, you've got not just your profile picture and your name, but that little card that has your achievement score and your rep and all that shit.
Yeah, but who looks at that?
Although, yeah, that's kind of been... Xbox are kind of moving away from that to a point. I think they'll still keep gamer score, but the rep thing kind of by the wayside now.
Well, it's because they didn't
I'm not sure that
implement
even
it.
exists anymore. Oh, it sort of does. Yeah, it
They
does
didn't
still
implement it well enough.
It's like a community-driven rep system doesn't make a lot of sense because it's just going to be abused.
Yeah, exactly. If they implemented more systems to it to actually make it so it was more controllable.
Yeah, if the game felt you were cheating or something, or you got banned, or you quit games for too much, the game should control how that affects your global rep. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or rep is just stored game by game, and it's up to the game to do it.
Because that's really what they tried to do in stuff like StarCraft and Dota and all that.
Yeah, game-based rep. Which then, like, if your rep gets too low, then you start getting ranked with people that are only low rep, and keep styles of play together. That makes perfect sense to me.
What match griefers with griefers?
Yep. Yeah, the classic clan. So anyway, got 3DS back, and then I got a hold of that Pokémon Mystery Dungeon thing that I've forgotten the name of. Gates to Infinity, I guess is the subtitle. Don't really care about that bit.
Is that basically a play because it's Infinite Dungeons?
Sort of.
Gates to Infinity. We made a game that randomly generates, therefore it's infinite.
Well, you can also create those dungeons by taking the pictures. That gives you, like...
You should take a picture of my microphone.
I'm not sure if spheres work as well as flat circles, but we could try it. Ooh. Also, it's reflective, and that might fuck it up.
Or you could get a really weird-looking level. Or perhaps it would
I'm not sure it's that direct. Yeah. So yeah, played some of that, and I still find it quite hilarious. Although I find it's probably like old cynical people will find certain aspects of this weird Pokemon world really weird and weird. Mainly weird. I just...
old Pokemon.
Yeah, people who know too much and don't just take it at face value of Pokemon.
Right.
Where it's just like, there's all these Pokemon in this world, and it's like this advanced Pokemon civilization or whatever, where I guess they make buildings and things. Well, not that advanced. It's not like computers, or not technology really, but they don't have names. I mean, you say your name to your friend, and then you give him a nickname because you can, and then when other Pokemon join your team, you can give them nicknames in the Pokemon style, but then you never do because you're not that attached to these other random dudes. But it's like when all these other Pokemon are talking to each other, they also all only refer to each other by what I consider their species, I guess.
Right. Hey, Dunsparce.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they refer, but then there's conversations where you're talking to more than one of the same species. And then if you can just interpret that in the hilarious way where, like, all Pokemon are super racist.
Okay.
It's like, oh, here come the Timbers. Because there's two of them. It's like, here come the Blacks.
Yeah.
How else would you say it though? It's like when you're being just like describing, oh, here come the English. It's fine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like the Pokemon are all super racist.
Here comes the English is kind of fine, I suppose. It's like, oh, there were some French people. Is fine to say, isn't it? It's like,
yeah, but there's still some inherent racism to it. Although later on, it does get a little less.
It's not racist. It's just what they are. It's like, well, here come the men. It's like, that's not sexist. There's a group of men.
That is sort of sexist.
What? Can help me out here. There's a boundary here.
Because you're not saying, here come the men in everyday use. The only reason you'd say that is because it has some other connotation.
Well, what about, here come the girls? Is that inherently sexist?
Here come the dudes or whatever, or you've got to wait for the dudes to
It's like if you say, here come some guys,
the boys are back in town.
That's got connotation to it, because you're saying, I don't know these people, I don't have any other information apart from here's some dudes.
Oh, guys are so vague. The word guys is like incredibly vague now. That can mean anyone, any number of people,
that specific
any type.
The specific word is different.
I just define people as having types. Sorry.
Like Pokemon.
Yeah.
But it gets a little less, like...
I don't know.
A little less... You'd have to be a cynic to see it. But because later on, there's a... they find like a passed out Pokemon, and they're all like, "Oh, we've never seen this Pokemon before." And then they start to referring to him as the black Pokemon because he's black. And it's like, "Oh, you didn't quite." It's like you didn't quite think that one through, Nintendo, when you're translating this.
It only becomes an ism, I suppose, or an ist.
Everyone thought he was a bad guy because he'd been lurking suspiciously around the town. It's like, oh, this black Pokemon.
But it only becomes an ism or an ist, I guess, if it's used in a derogatory sense. If it's just literally descriptive, then that's not a problem.
That's what I'm saying. It's not.
It's like if people were looking down upon the Pichus, it's like these guys have no mental capacity, therefore we must hide them away as scourge of society. They can only live in Pichu-based ghettos.
That could easily happen in Pokemon. I'm not sure if it has specifically, but it's like, because they're in the species of Pokemon have inherent weaknesses or whatever.
Well, yeah, presumably they go and do, and they'll get like jobs in this make-up world that's inherent to their strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Raichus will be power plant people, maybe.
But I'm not saying that they do it necessarily. I'm saying that if you're a cynical old person, you can interpret it that way, and it's hilariously dumb to think that these Pokemon are actually totally super racist all the time.
I would agree that it is an incredibly dumb concept to think of it that way.
This whole conversation is incredibly dumb.
It's funny.
It is kind of funny to imagine a racist Pokemon world. I just don't think this is one of those.
Well, I think it is, though. I think that's the problem with like imparting these human concepts onto Pokemon. Is like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, I don't know. If there was like a conversation that was sort of similar, like, oh, it's you can't invite Tepigs to your party. They're just going to eat all the food and shit on the couch. I don't know.
Well, there is.
That'd be funny.
Okay, there's a Pokemon.
That might be racist.
There's a Pokemon today. A really bad Pokemon from like Diamond or Silver. No, not Silver. Diamond or Pearl or whatever. There's a really bad Pokemon that's just a fucking living bag of rubbish. And I mean that very literally. Like, it's a literal plastic bag with eyes on it, and then, like, it leaks rubbish that forms arms or some shit. So anyway...
Oh, man, they're being so speciest right now. It's like calling it a bag of rubbish, honestly.
It's like, it's a literal bag of rubbish, and then its personality is like, it has really bad gas all the time. And it's like, well... Yes, I mean, obviously. But, I mean, come on.
It's like wheezing. It's like, you wouldn't say, dude... deodorant.
So that's, I mean, for a start, why does that Pokemon exist?
Yes, why? That's not cute. That's not kawaii.
Well, no, not that. I mean, why does a rubbish bag exist in a world where there's no humans? The only reason that Pokemon exists in the Pokemon world, in the Pokemon games before that, is because it's an evolutionary response. Like all the Pokemon that are like Pokeballs or whatever.
Oh, right, in order to escape detection.
Yeah. It's like, come on. What the fuck? Why did you choose that one? And it's a really bad Pokemon anyway, so fuck it. That shouldn't have been in the game.
What's it called?
Trubbish.
Trubbish.
That was also when they got lazy with names.
Would you do not think that
That's
the
surprisingly
Pokeballs were
British.
modelled after electrodes and not the other way around?
It's hard to say. I mean, they weren't very
It was
specific.
never defined, was it? So,
Well, they weren't specific about it. But
the ball just might have been a convenient mechanism for storing Pokemon. Then they just thought, hey, you know what? There's a
it
Pokemon
looks like
that
this
looks
other ball.
there's a
It looks like a
Pokemon that
Pokemon that's exactly the same.
Yeah, so we'll colour it like that.
I guess there are Pokeballs that aren't that colour, so maybe.
Pokeball is the most mysterious technology.
Yeah,
It's
basically.
like so advanced and crazy that it can like target things and like.
There's no Pokeballs in this world yet. I wonder what would happen if there was one.
Why
That'd be
didn't
weird.
they make Pokeballs that contain like your lunch? Like you open them up and your
Exactly.
sandwich comes out.
Maybe it only works on living things, which would be a whole other weird problem.
So then you could take
Become live
chickens
ingredients.
and then
Yeah,
you
exactly.
kill it the moment it comes out.
Like transporting lobsters or something.
Yeah.
Ah, my lobster.
Yeah,
It'd be the freshest form of food transport, surely.
yeah. I mean, you wouldn't
Well,
have to have.
depends on
imagine
what
how
the
hard
technology
it
is. Like, where, does time pass inside a Pokeball? Does it go stale if it does it
That'd be
age?
even better if it didn't. I mean,
Stasis.
imagine how much easier it would be to transport Pokeballs than like cattle.
And why can't
You
you
just have each cow would be this big, and you could just stack them up.
or why couldn't you put people in them? Like, just
Well, that
like
is
we're
the
going on a
question.
long trip. It's like I can save my years.
Or space?
Or
You could, you could trap people in Pokeballs.
like every
though.
transport would be immediate
Okay.
because you'd just be stasis.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Although apparently when people die, they sometimes turn into Pokemon ghosts, so you know what the fuck.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and then you can keep them. In
Yeah, exactly. Actually, there's one of those in this game as well. There's a Pokemon. Actually, I guess.
One of the ghost Pokemon. I mean, that's like
Well, it's a ghost Pokemon where it's basically an Egyptian-style sarcophagus with ghost arms coming out of it. And it's like, so why does that exist in a world with no humans? Or, I mean, I guess Egypt doesn't really technically exist in the Pokemon universe, so why does that exist in the first place? Sandy designs.
Or Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan are kind of based on real people.
Yeah, I guess.
Sort of.
I haven't seen them yet. I don't think they're in. Although I went and looked at. I guess there's no Pokedex. I mean, obviously, because Podexes don't exist. But there is a list of all the a list that would theoretically show you all the Pokemon you can recruit, and that's like 168 odd.
Right.
From obviously not the original 150 or anything. They had to pick ones that fit into a nice small-ish area to make it scale right.
Right.
oh, it's none of the legendaries. You mean? There's
No, probably not.
There's no Charizards or anything.
Well, maybe, but they'll probably be misscaled.
Right.
It's like I'm fairly sure because you get the starter Pokemon from whatever generation that was as
First
your
generation.
team members.
Charizard.
No, the
Oh, you're
Ones
talking
in this
about
game.
Is that
Tepig and
gold?
shit.
yeah Tepig and all that. It must have been
No,
that must have been
no.
Diamond and Pearl, I think.
Yeah, it was Diamond
Okay.
and Pearl, yeah.
But yeah, they evolve pretty big, and they're going to evolve.
Yeah.
But they'll obviously be
Scale.
somewhat scaled. And that's just weird in itself, evolution. I wonder how that's going to be handled. Because it's like you're freaking talking to Tepig, and then at some point it's going to evolve, and then does its personality change? I mean,
Could be.
because there's clearly you already see different Pokemon that are evolutions of each other, and they clearly have different personalities based on their evolution. It's like, it's just going to get really weird.
That could be an interesting, like, if you were going to go deep on this, you could have a really interesting narrative about how people's personalities change, like, against their will when they evolve,
Yeah.
and like how the group has to deal with that.
It could be going that way. I mean, the other thing,
The emotional tale.
everything about this game is kind of strange in that it's like, well, firstly, it's actually surprisingly complicated in terms of like, not so much. I don't know if it's going to be that complicated in terms of like the exploring the dungeons and the fighting bit, but there's a lot of like extraneous mechanics to it where like you're building your village and you're upgrading the buildings and they can give you different resources and upgrades give you different rewards. And then you're doing quests, and the quests give you loot, and then you can combine the loot and build other things. And you have all your item lists, and that's actually like even more so than Pokemon already had items. It's like quite an extensive list of things you can carry around or alter your encounters, and you can use it on enemies, and enemies can steal it off you. It's a bastard. But apart from the mechanic complication, like it's a weirdly dense sort of. I don't know. It's sort of. I found it weird that it was almost sort of dark in its storyline. Like literally, the first thing that happens is you buy this plot of land and you're like, oh shit, we need to build a house. So you go to this carpenter, Pokemon, carpenter, and so you talk.
on.
Yeah, Carpetmon. So you talk to him, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want cash. I want these gems or whatever."
Jesus, man.
So you have to go and find these gems. You go find these gems. You come back to town, and then like a thief pickpockets you and steals them. And it turns out the carpenter dude was running a racket where he was just tricking people into getting these gems, and then this thief guy was jacking them for him, and then he was like, so it's like crime in Pokemon.
Poke crime.
What is it? And Team Rocket weren't exactly.
Well, they're not in the world. Are they?
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah,
like
Pokemon
have.
From the first games, you know, when you say crime in Pokemon, you were just like,
well, no, but I mean that's more. I think in the actual Pokemon games, it's sort of like generic evildoers. I don't think they just want to take over the world.
Well, then there was the like team.
They don't have extortion or whatever.
The Team Jet or whatever it was, where they. What was the one where they actually were like, well, Pokemon are like being enslaved and we should probably stop that?
Oh, yeah.
Animal rights guys.
Yeah.
That's not evil.
No, but that's a very specific case.
Yeah.
And also they did still have an evil plan, even though they were under the flag of this good plan.
Right, okay.
They're like, free the Pokemon, but then do this other thing.
It's better to have dead Pokemon than enslaved Pokemon.
Yeah. But yeah, so this whole world is kind of weird in that, like, it seems kind of more realistically bad than the normal Pokemon games. It's like this mysteriously cheesy world can actually have these oddly dark topics. And like the whole reason that this guy was running this extortion ring is because he got injured and then he couldn't perform his carpentry any longer, so he got depressed. It's like, there's a fucking Pokemon!
This is awesome. I'm liking it.
So where's the racism coming in?
Well, I mean, you know. The fact that there's the thief...
You're going to enter like some kind of like town with segregated bathrooms. It's like, presumably that has to exist anyway.
Yeah.
Like, or that it's just a hole.
Well, there's Pokemon don't shit. I don't know.
Shit lightning.
Yeah, exactly. Every time they use a move, let's get you out there.
Is there a Pokemon based on masonry? Because then he could actually shit bricks.
I'm trying to think if there's a Pokemon based on masonry. There might be. It sounds like something.
Almost certainly there's a wall Pokemon of some kind.
Can't think of anything that specific. There's like cogs.
I'm just trying to, like, in this world where Pokemon can talk, with the tree Pokemon literally get wood. And, yeah.
Yeah. There hasn't been any breeding yet. I wonder if that will get covered. Pokemon breeding.
Is there going to be any, like...
Is there, like, eggs or whatever?
Would, like... Oh, imagine, like, what's that... What's the baby form of Charizard called? Like Charmander, yeah. Like, you know, Charmander could have really romantic dinners, couldn't he? Because like it's
candlelit tail.
Yeah, it just puts his tail like through a hole.
Or a picnic bench.
Oh, Charmander, you dog.
So yeah, it's a ridiculous world, surprisingly deep in its story and in its gameplay, I guess. And actually, it's like the actual battling part where you're moving around the dungeons and whatever. Even that is like they added more mechanics to that, even beyond what it initially appears. Because you have your 4 moves attached to each Pokemon and to you, who are a Pokemon, obviously. And also, I'm now mentioning that you're also going to evolve at some point, which is a whole other weird storyline issue of you're a human that got turned into Pokemon, but then you can still evolve. Because I mean. What? What
are you then? You check.
You choose one of the 5.
What are you, Zach?
I am Snivy, the grass snake Pokemon.
Snivy.
And Tevy is my teammate, obviously. Fuck Pichu.
Pichu? Is that
Pikachu.
Oh, right. Is that one?
Although that's weird in itself, because I guess that is an evolved form, and there are Pichus in the game.
It's not an evolved form in the original game, only later.
Yeah, but it is now.
Yeah, it is now.
We need to wrap it up.
Oh.
Less than 60 seconds.
But there was the mechanics thing. Your moves can level up, basically.
What was 60 seconds of me?
Oh,
Rob can't count.
Sorry,
Great.
I misjudged. I thought it was approaching the end of the 2 minute left.
2 minutes!
Yeah.
Yeah, so your moves can level up as you use them.
Right. Separate from you.
Yeah, separate from you. And like the leveling up of the moves is shared between all the Pokemon in your team. So if you have a move that's really common, it levels up fast and gets better. So it's like they've added these other mechanics on top of the already Pokemon mechanic. I guess they have simplified it in some ways because like now you only have 4 stats, where it's like only attack and defense, special attack and special defense. You don't have any of the other crap. Well, I guess there wasn't really any other stats, was there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was speed, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Romance. Racism.
Yep. Level up your racism. So yeah,
that is indeed it for us this week.
Yeah, we'll probably come back to that because I'm going to play it some more. I suppose
more Mystery Dungeon.
Take some more photos of circular objects.
More tea-based dungeons that kick your ass.
Yeah, fucking tea. That cup of tea was murderous.
So is E3 in 2 weeks' time? Will E3 have gone?
Something like 2 and a bit weeks.
So it's going to be after this.
So join us next time for Xbox Next, whatever the fuck it's called, Infinity News. And
Durango
news, and more of
games,
all the game stuff, including random 3DS shit.
More games and more us,
indeed. And maybe we'll restructure the podcast the next time. I'm altering the podcast. Pray I do not alter it any further.
No
guys.
Okay, no dice. Okay then, Darth. No bother. Right, see you then, guys.